Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. The Great Voyage of the People. Unlock the Dreadnought Battleship at the beginning. Chapter 21. Brother Chen Yang, please don't say that. We are too grateful to be able to save us newcomers in times of crisis. We are willing to spend more resources, and we also ask Mr. Chen Yang to help us upgrade our warships. Is everyone saying that? Yes. Chen Yang waved his hand. Having said that, you newbies don't have many resources, so I'll tell you the truth. My special ability can reduce the upgrade material requirements and upgrade speed by 30%, and can add random enchantment attributes to battleships. It's definitely not okay to ask you to provide more resources. How about this? You only need to provide 80% of the resources, and 10% of them will be used as a handling fee. What do you think? Hearing this, everyone was excited. I didn't expect such a good thing. Just 10%. Then don't we take advantage of it? Mr. Chen Yang, why don't you charge 20%? Chen Yang resolutely refused. Everyone doesn't have much resources, so save as much as you can. How about this? If someone gets a random attribute, add 5% more, it's just a matter of meaning, what do you think? Everyone looked at each other in blank dismay, so moved that they almost cried. As expected of Mr. Chen Yang, he has always been thinking about their newcomers. Boss Chen Yang, I want to upgrade. Boss Chen Yang, help me upgrade my battleship first. All of a sudden, the crowd was turbulent, and they disembarked one after another, and approached Chen Yang. Everyone, time is limited. We still have to go to Palm Island to resupply and search for resources to prepare for the trip to the Sea of Storms in 2 months. I hope everyone will abide by the order and line up in an orderly manner. You can sign up with Mr. Orff first. Talking, his sharp eyes looked around. If anyone takes the opportunity to make trouble. He deliberately turned his head to glance at the 2 battleships docked not far from the dock. Everyone was shocked. How long has it been? Why is there another battleship? Even bigger than the Intrepid. The muzzle of the black hole is aimed at the direction of the dock, always on alert. At this time, Orff finally understood what Chen Yang wanted to do. I have to say that this kills 2 birds with 1 stone. Not only earned resources, but also earned prestige. When the first battleship that entered the dock to wait for upgrades stopped firmly in front of Chen Yang. In just 2 minutes, it was upgraded from a Tier 6 warship to a Tier 5 warship. Directly saved 20% of resources. The newcomer laughed from ear to ear, and happily drove the battleship out of the dock. It's really fast and cheap. The onlookers are excited, which means they can save a lot of resources. Next, Chen Yang shouted. Immediately after, the long queue continued to move forward. Of course, there are also many newcomers who doubt Chen Yang. It wobbled into the nearby dock, but within a few minutes it retreated obediently. The price of the dock is 1/3 higher than that of Chen Yang. Congratulations Voyager, your talent experience is full, and you have successfully upgraded to level 2. A beep sounds. Chen Yang quickly opened his talent to check the situation. As expected, the battleship upgrade division has been upgraded to level 2. When upgrading ships, resource consumption can be reduced by 40%. Increases ship upgrade speed by 40%. There is a 40% chance to grant special attributes to upgraded ships. Note, can be upgraded. Upgrade experience, 1/100th. Chen Yang clenched his fist excitedly, as soon as he made more money. It used to earn 10%, but now it directly earns 20%. When the talent is upgraded to 3 levels, it is estimated that the resource consumption can be reduced to 50%. His face was expressionless, but his heart was filled with joy. Come on, next one, next one. Just when Chen Yang was making a lot of money in the public dock, news about him spread across most of the Blue Sea. On an ivory-white super sail warship, a man in a red suit holds the information in his hand, with a playful look on his face. A rookie who got an ironclad ship at the beginning. He also defeated the 3 big fleets of Black Flag, Red Snake, and White Skull. It's interesting. Head, this newcomer is too arrogant, shall we go meet him and suppress his arrogance? Don't worry, the Storm Sea Resource Island will be refreshed soon. The task of the big fleet is to strengthen its strength and prepare for the promotion of the fleet. As long as we get enough resource islands this time, our new Century Grand Fleet will be able to advance to the 8th Fleet of the Azure Sea. At that time, our power will shake the entire blue sea and prepare for entering the endless sea. Voice just fell. Among the densely packed first-class sailing warships behind them, the hidden ironclad ships began to reveal their ferocious muzzles. White Pine Island. In the magnificent palace, the door suddenly opened. Captain Baisong, the situation is not good, the situation is not good. Why are you so flustered? On the sofa, the general embracing left and right glared at the visitor. His sharp eyes made him bow his head quickly, and respectfully handed over a piece of information. Black Snake and the others lost. Baisong bowed his head, flipping through the battle report casually, as if it was a trivial matter. Captain, that newcomer not only defeated the 3 large fleets, but also crashed into the Channel checkpoint, ignoring the majesty of the White Pine Fleet. Baisong still flipped through the information in his hand calmly. You are so panicked by a small newcomer, you have let me down so much. Captain, that newcomer is not simple. The battleship under his seat is probably not as simple as an ironclad ship. According to the information obtained by my subordinates by buying some newcomers, they call it a Dreadnought Battleship, which is a more powerful and advanced battleship than ours. Hear this. Only then did Baisong sit up. Dreadnought Battleship. Where is this newcomer now? Towards the Palm Island. Palm Island. Chen Yong stayed in the dock for 7 days. Only then have all the ships that need to be upgraded completed. After all, among the hundreds of thousands of newcomers, only a few can get together the upgrade resources. Chen Yong looked at the resources piled up in the system space and laughed. The space of the main ship has already been filled, and all the resources obtained later have been stuffed into the system space. Fortunately, the system is powerful, otherwise there would be no place for so many resources. The talent is directly upgraded to level 4, which can reduce resource consumption by 60%. Experience points required to upgrade to level 5 are 2,528 10,000ths. In other words, Chen Yong upgraded more than 3,000 ships within a week. Literally sleepless. There are thousands of ships with special attributes. The rookie feels that he has made a lot of money, and Chen Yong feels that he has won. This is probably how a win-win situation comes about. Upgrading a ship earns a 40% to 45% commission fee. After 7 days, the resources in Chen Yang's hands were directly out of bounds. There are hundreds of thousands of units of timber, and tens of thousands of units of metal resources. Some newcomers lack wood and metal, and Chen Yong allows them to trade food resources and even fresh water resources. In short, Chen Yong became the most profitable one in the public dock. When the mighty sailing fleet was heading towards Palm Island, Chen Yong started slowly and reluctantly left. It's a pity that less than 1/3 of the newcomers came to the direction of Palm Island. Otherwise, you can earn more. The so-called gluttony can't chew. It's better to go to Palm Island first to trade supplies, and then go to the Sea of Storms. After 3 days sailing, when a touch of greenery came into view in the distance, Chen Yong knew that Palm Island had arrived. Instead of directly driving the battleship to the island, it docked hundreds of nautical miles away from Palm Island. Take Worf's first-class sailing warship to Palm Island. One of the reasons for coming to Palm Island this time is to obtain more information about the Sea of Storms. Now, the resource island is about to be refreshed, and all major forces in the entire Blue Sea area are taking action. It has been more than 2 years since the last refresh, that is to say, their newcomers are the only navigators who have come to the Blue Sea in the past 2 years. Second, naturally, it is for trading. Chen Yong defeated the 3 major fleets and gained a lot of resources. Plus the resources earned in the dock these days. At this time, he was like a rich man walking on the sea. This time he came to Palm Island to trade rare metal resources and coal resources. It can be foreseen that the battle for the Sea of Storms resource island will be another tough battle, and preparations must be made in advance. But, just when he had just arrived at Palm Island, the gray name that hadn't been lit up for a long time lit up again. Newcomer, are you still alive? The old bird of the endless sea has come to you to exchange things again. Chen Yong still couldn't figure out how the other party contacted him. Thanks to your great blessing, I managed to deal with those guys in the Novice Channel, and now I have entered the Blue Sea. Azure Sea region. Did I hear correctly? You randomly landed in a special Novice Sea region. The other side looked shocked. Wait, what is a special Novice Sea area? My dear, why are you so lucky? As the name suggests, the special novice sea area is a very special novice sea area, do you understand? Winking expression. Chen Yang. It's as if you didn't say it. Ahem, cough, let me explain this to you. The special sea area is not directly connected to the endless sea. It is a very special novice area. You must know that there are 99,999 novice areas in the entire endless sea, but there are only 99 special novice areas. Each special novice area has special resources to obtain. By the way, what are the special resources refreshed by the Azure Sea this time? Special resources. No, it's just that you can enter the stormy sea to find the base island. What? Although the other party sent text, Chen Yang felt that the other party had already jumped up. Say it again. Are you sure it's base island? Affirmative and affirmative, saying that this thing is not a novice benefit that every navigator can get. Fully, you ghost, do you know what base island means? Chen Yang was stunned. What does it mean? It seems that you really don't know anything. The base island is. Chen Yang was also in a hurry. This guy, how can he speak half? Hey, you said it. 100 units of food. You just go and grab it, you don't want to talk about it. The 5 units of food. Chen Yang thought for a moment. Deal, but I still need more information about the special novice sea area. I want everything you know, and I will pay 10 units of food. The other party replied instantly, deal. Chen Yang regretted it, feeling that he had overpaid. Just as Chen Yang was throwing food into the unfolded portal, an inquiry sounded from the opposite side. By the way, newcomer, can you tell me how many ships you have now? What? Chen Yang is vigilant. To be honest, I have encountered some troubles here and want to invite mercenaries to help. That's it, I have 3, no, 6, and 1 super sailing warship. Sail battleship. Forget it, contact me when you have time. Wait, I haven't finished yet. This sentence has not yet been sent out, and the name on the other side has been blacked out again. There was an extra copy of the information he needed in the email. I'm running so fast. Beside, Orf looked at the blue portal that was slowly disappearing. This is just a strange trader, he should also be a navigator. As he spoke, he didn't forget to shake the information in his hand. After opening the information, Chen Yang suddenly felt that the 10 units of food was worth it. So this is the special novice sea area. The base island is so precious, it is equivalent to a mobile base that can be carried with you. Chen Yang muttered to himself, overjoyed. From this point of view, this sea of storms must go. Captain, we're here. The sailor pointed to the brightly lit island trading area in front of him, saying that there were quite a lot of people. The boat slowly docks. The huge pier on Palm Island can accommodate thousands of sailboats at the same time. Before going to the island, Chen Yang noticed the prosperity of Palm Island. There are 3 super sailing warships moored in the port, and there are countless first-class warships. Most critical. In one corner he spotted a low-profile ironclad ship. It's just a rudimentary ironclad ship with sails, and the surface deck is covered with iron armor. At this time, Orf said, Captain, according to the information I have collected in the past few days, Palm Island is the only trading island within thousands of nautical miles of Fangyuan, and it belongs to the public domain. Public area. Isn't this the territory of the White Pine Fleet? Chen Yang asked back. This sea area is indeed the territory of the White Pine Fleet, but Palm Island is not. This is a theoretical safe zone, and it is the first stop for newcomers to reach the Blue Sea area. There is a trading island similar to Palm Island at the border of Moon Bay and Redbeard Sea. Chen Yang couldn't help sighing that an old family is like a treasure. Before he noticed the information, the old man's keen sense of smell had already begun to play a role. Chen Yang rubbed his chin. By the way, where did the supplies for Palm Island come from? Endless Sea. The Endless Sea, or special traders. According to the information I got, these special traders can communicate with the Endless Sea. Chen Yang was silent. Could it be that he had the same ability as the guy who traded information with him? It looks like we can find a way to get in touch with the special traders here and find out information about the Endless Sea. Chen Yang made up his mind. After landing, Chen Yang was dazzled. There are not only humans here, but also some demihumans, and even murlocs. It is said that the Endless Sea is full of rivers and rivers, gathering different worlds and different races. Palm Island really opened Chen Yang's horizons. Chen Yang noticed that Orf next to him was still wearing a white sailor suit, which looked a little thin. How can this work? As the admiral of my Chen Yang, how can I be so weak? Immediately, he was going to drag Orf into the nearby clothing store to buy a better outfit. As a result, within 5 minutes, the two escaped in desperation. He touched his empty pocket, but there was not a dime. Yes, transactions on the trading island require money, or common navigation coins, and you cannot directly use resources to buy things. You need to go to the exchange point to exchange resources into navigation coins before you can spend them in ordinary stores. Chen Yang was so embarrassing, he was kicked out of the first pretend. Cough, cough, mistake, mistake. After all, as a newcomer, I don't know anything. At this time, Chen Yang felt that he was being ripped off by the corner of his clothes. Look back. A little girl in patched clothes was looking at him timidly. Please, do you need a guide? The girl tried to muster up her courage and asked in a low voice. Voice just fell. A group of teenagers surrounded him. Sir, do you need a guide? Only 10 navigation coins are needed. Sir, choose me, I only need 8 navigation coins. Choose me, I only need 7 nautical coins. Chen Yang frowned. The sailors nearby hurriedly stopped these slightly crazy boys and girls. Chen Yang walked around them and walked up to the little girl who was pushed to the back by this group of strong children. How much do you pay per day? 5 nautical coins are enough. The timid look in her eyes made her dare not look directly at Chen Yang. Come with me, it's just you. Really, what, you don't want to be my guide? Yes, I am willing. The girl was pleasantly surprised and hurried after her. At the same time, Gray and Black Island, the gunfire that lasted for nearly a month still did not stop. Almost all of the huge islands have been plowed several times. But there were still shells flying in, and the explosions splashed dust all over the sky. In the underground fortress, the girl was very satisfied with her eloquence, and successfully fooled. No, she traded more than a dozen units of food. In this way, it can last for a few weeks. When will my second fleet arrive? It's been a week, lost. Report to Admiral, just received information that the first fleet is at war with the Luotian Kingdom, and the second fleet is being sniped near the Black Wind Sea. What? The second fleet was attacked? No, I have to find a way to get out of trouble. This group of pirates, if it wasn't for my mother's carelessness, how could they have fallen into this place? What about the mercenaries? I'm sorry, Admiral, we don't have the resources to issue employment missions right now. Ah, jumping feet girlishly. The Palm Island is broadly divided into 5 zones. Trading area, tourist living area, dock, pier, auction house. Along the way, the little girl gradually became a guide, and she was not as scared as before. You are so young, do you also come from the outside world? Chen Yang asked. The girl shook her head. I was born in the Endless Sea, and my parents are both from the Radiant Continent. 10 years ago, my parents lost their main ship during a voyage, and they have settled here ever since. Chen Yang was stunned. No wonder he saw so many children on Palm Island. They were all descendants of the navigators. After all, in the novice area, none of the children had seen it. It seems that if you want the Endless Sea, there is also an age limit. Sir, the resource trading area is in front of you. If you want to exchange resources for navigation coins, I suggest you go to the trading hall, where the most reasonable price can be found. Chen Yang nodded. Lead the way. Soon, they entered a huge domed building, and there was an endless stream of voices. There are already many newcomers who are one step ahead of him. Timber resource trading, metal resource trading, rock resource trading. There are specialized stores here. Hello, I want to exchange the timber resources for navigation coins. How much? The shopkeeper did not lift his head, but stared intently at the ledger in his hand. The other party was in his 60s, with black hair and black eyes, and he looked like a person from the Dragon Kingdom, but his sharp ears told Chen Yang that he was definitely not from the Blue Star. 10,000 units. Puff. The tea I just drank was spurted out. The shopkeeper suddenly raised his head and looked him up and down. He was undoubtedly a newcomer. Do you have 10,000 units of wood? The other side expressed doubts. How much is the market price? For wood, 1 to 3,000. Chen Yang rubbed his chin. 3,000 navigation coins for 10 tons of wood. I was new here and didn't know the market, so I subconsciously looked at the little girl next to me. Sir, let's go to the house outside, their house is 1 to 3,000 too. Hey, I said, where did you come from, the little beggar? Stop talking nonsense here, where can you sell for 3,200? Get out. As he spoke, he stretched out his hand and threw the stone in his hand. In the end, Chen Yang grabbed the thrown stone. She is mine, boss, what do you mean? Ha, ha ha ha, misunderstanding, I thought it was the group of little beggars outside. Behind, the little girl summoned up her courage. Recently, newcomers have entered the Azure Sea, and the demand for timber resources will increase rapidly. What's more, the major forces are also hoarding timber to prepare for the opening of the Sea of Storms. So, I think the wood resources should be able to increase to about 4,000 in the end. Chen Yang turned around. Is that so? Boss, the shopkeeper hurriedly laughed along, wishing to scold the little beggar in front of him to death. It's not easy to meet a newcomer, is it easy for him? 4,000 is impossible, at most 3,008. Okay, then 3,008. Chen Yang made the final decision. The shopkeeper was immediately dumbfounded. No, I mean. Oh, you want to reduce the price? Forget it, I'll go to another place to see. Wait, 3,008 is 3,008. The shop owner was almost mad at this little beggar. After all, wood resources are scarce now, and not many can produce 10,000 units of wood at a time. In the past few days, many navigators have come to trade, at most 10 units, 20 units or something. Now that the Sea of Storms is about to open, all the major fleets are frantically hoarding timber resources, and the prices continue to soar. 3,008. I still have some money to make, so hurry up and grab it. Make a deal. Chen Yang grinned. He didn't expect that the little guide randomly selected would be so powerful. Just when the shopkeeper took people to the main ship to receive resources. 38 million nautical coins have already arrived. This is Chen Yang's first pot of gold in the endless sea. It has to be said that wood is indeed very expensive nowadays. When he set his sights on metal resources, he found that metal resources were surprisingly cheap. A unit of metal is only less than 1,200 nautical coins, and the price difference between the two parties is 3 times. But it's normal to think about it. According to today's intelligence, the Blue Sea is still in the era of sailing warships. A small number of ironclad ships cannot raise the price of metal resources too high. Today's metal resources are mostly used to create artillery and shells. Compared with the output of resources, the consumption is far lower than that of wood. Chen Yang immediately rewarded the girl with 1,000 navigation coins. When the little girl got the huge sum of money, she was shocked. Sir, I can't have it. Chen Yang shook his head. No, you earned this by yourself. But I only said a few words. Chen Yang stretched out a finger. This sentence is worth 1,000. The girl thanked her again and again. By the way, I will stay in Palm Island for a few days, and you will follow me. I will hire you for 1,000. 1,000 a day. At this time, Orf, who turned around, came back, looking a little nervous. Old man, what's the matter? I saw Orf looking around. This is not a place to talk, let's change places. Seeing that the old man is so mysterious, what news did Chen Yang find out? Xiaolu, take us to the hotel, it's better. Sir, please follow me. The girl nodded hastily and trotted all the way. The price of a luxury personal hotel is more than 100 per night, which is really not cheap. But for Chen Yang, who holds a huge sum of money, 100 is nothing. What's wrong? Is there any important discovery? Seeing Orf vigilantly searching around the house with a cane, he finally turned around after confirming that it was safe. There's something wrong with Palm Island. Something's wrong. I looked at the Palm Island and it's quite quiet. How could something be wrong? Orf stood by the window and raised the curtain to point to the southeast port of Palm Island. It was empty and there was nothing. There, Chen Yang looked around, but there was nothing there, and his mind was full of question marks. There is the port where the White Pine Fleet is stationed, but since yesterday, all the ships stationed by the White Pine Fleet have left the port without leaving a single ship. Hearing this, Chen Yang also became vigilant. You mean, there is movement in the White Pine Fleet? Isn't Palm Island a safe zone? There is no doubt about the safe zone, but compared to navigators, pirates are not included. You mean, maybe there will be pirates appearing on Palm Island next? Orf pointed to his head. Intuition. This reminds me of the conspiracy war at the port of Bordeaux 70 years ago. At that time, I was just a little sailor. In order to provoke a war, the D Army sailed the supply fleet into the port of Bordeaux to replenish, and lured the F Army to attack the port of Bordeaux. In the end, the F Army fell into the trap, thinking that the D Army's fleet was here, and bombed the port. As a result, the D Army found an excuse to start the war and sank all the F Army's fleet. According to the rules of engagement in the safe zone of the Endless Sea, navigators are not allowed to fire in the safe zone in an emergency, but if it is in an emergency. Chen Yang was stunned. You mean, the White Pine Fleet intends to use pirates? Then his goal is. Orf looked at Chen Yang. Could it be me? Chen Yang slapped his head. Hee, the dog really thinks highly of me, isn't it just killing their dog legs and breaking through the checkpoint of his White Pine Fleet, as for? Orf narrowed his eyes. Should be just a temptation, but I have to guard against it. Chen Yang relaxed when he heard this. If it's just a test, then don't worry. According to my estimation, it's impossible for the White Pine Fleet to go all out for me alone. After all, the Sea of Storms is about to open. By the way, old man, you have been around the port, do you have any other information? Orf supported his crutches and sat down. Did the leader just sell 10,000 units of wood? That's right, the ratio has increased to 3,800. Chen Yang nodded. 3,800. This should not have reached the peak yet. According to predictions, it is not impossible to reach 5,000 in the end. And I found an interesting phenomenon. An interesting phenomenon. I found that someone is secretly hoarding metal resources. Recently, a lot of metal resources in Palm Island have flowed into someone's warehouse. You mean, either someone is planning to hoard it, or someone is planning a large-scale shipbuilding plan, and it is not a sailing warship. Ironclad. Chen Yang's expression turned serious. If it was a sailing warship, he would not be afraid of 100,000 ships coming, but if it was an ironclad ship, he had to be careful. Can you find out who is buying it? Orf smiled. The leader is joking, this is a commercial secret, and I have limited resources to obtain information, so it is difficult to judge. Chen Yang thought for a while. I have a good plan to make money. The leader wants to hype metal resources. That's right, I have a lot of blueprints for ironclad warships in my hand, and when the time comes, they will be sold out. Wouldn't it be blood money? Do you need resources to buy ironclad ship blueprints? With blueprints, you need resources to build ironclad ships, right? Chen Yang looks like a profiteer. Let's go, take this opportunity to go to the auction house and sell all the blueprints of the ironclad ship. Chen Yang can't wait. Captain, there are too many ironclad ships in the Blue Sea, I'm afraid they will pose a threat to us. Orf was a little worried. Don't worry, we'll have a fleet of dreadnoughts soon. Chen Yang looked confident. Just now, he was identified in the system. As long as it is a warship model unlocked by the system, he can consume resources to manufacture more. An Intrepid ship is fully loaded with 18,000 tons, which is mainly due to the consumption of metal resources. After cutting off the loss, it needs almost 2,000 units. In addition, a small amount of wood resources and rare mineral resources are required. Chen Yang has about 20,000 units of metal resources in his hands, which can build 10 dreadnoughts. This is far from enough. To build an ocean-going fleet, only 10 battleships are not enough. Moreover, metal resources need to be consumed to exchange for shells. If the number of ships increases, the consumption of coal resources is also an astronomical figure. Chen Yang glanced at the 30 million navigation coins he just earned in his hand. How much? Not much at all. Drizzle only. Therefore, Chen Yang should take advantage of this opportunity to earn more resources. Metal, coal, grain, he wanted it all. Chen Yang said seriously. Since this is the case, please rush back to the Intrepid and Titan immediately, and make sure to find the departing White Pine Fleet as soon as possible. If there are pirates, please send a submarine to meet me as soon as possible. Orf nodded seriously, turned around, and left through the night. Until Chen Yang walked out of the room. The little guide who had been waiting for a long time greeted him immediately. Why are you still here? Didn't I tell you to go back? The girl looked serious. I received such a high commission, so of course I have to do my best. Is the husband going out so late? These words made Chen Yang feel interesting. Auction house, do you know the location? Of course, please follow me, sir. The sky has completely darkened. The lights are on, and the whole island is very lively. Along the way, Chen Yang enjoyed the exotic scenery of Palm Island. By the way, Xiaolu, aren't your parents worried if you don't go back so late? Xiaolu has no parents anymore. They died in a pirate attack 2 years ago. Her tone was a little low. Chen Yang choked and apologized for embarrassment. Sorry, I didn't expect. It does not matter. The girl quickly regained her mood. Isn't that what the endless sea is like? The old people pass away, and the new ones come again, and they never stop running to more distant oceans. They just set sail faster than me. One day, I will save enough money to own a boat of my own and embark on the road they have traveled. Chen Yang looked at the girl next to him. He didn't expect to have such a mentality at such a young age. For a moment Chen Yang didn't know what to say. Have you saved enough money to buy a boat? The little girl shook her head. You have to pay the White Pine Fleet a poll tax, 5 nautical coins a day, or you will be kicked out of Palm Island. 5 navigation coins. Isn't this a public area? Chen Yang was a little speechless. What happened to the White Pine Fleet? The public area is right, but Palm Island also depends on someone to provide protection, otherwise who will resist those vicious pirates? So Palm Island pays protection fees to the White Pine Fleet. As for the protection fees, of course it comes from us islanders. Chen Yang remembered that she had asked for 5 nautical coins, which was just enough for a day's head tax. What will happen if you don't pay? Chen Yang asked. Of course it will be thrown out of Palm Island, and you will be given a small raft to fend for yourself. 2 years ago, the last batch of newcomers arrived in the blue waters, just arrived at Palm Island, and the pirates launched an attack that night. But the White Pine Fleet refused to rescue them on the grounds that Palm Island had not paid the protection fee. My parents also died in that attack. Most of Palm Island was destroyed and closed for maintenance for more than 3 months. Since then, the tax on Palm Island has been increasing day by day. Hear this. Chen Yang narrowed his eyes. Is it really because he didn't pay the protection fee? The girl looked forward to. It would be great if I could meet a generous boss like Mr. Everyday, so that I could leave Palm Island earlier and go to other places. Chen Yang didn't reply, but thought about taking her with him when he left. Even if it was just for a ride, it would be better than staying on Palm Island. In the invisible darkness of Palm Island, there are countless fangs and claws that are enough to tear people to pieces. Sir, the auction house is here. While talking, the two have arrived at this ivory-white cylindrical building, which is quite stylish. Exquisite marble statues are inlaid on the door frames, in stark contrast to the limestone houses of the surrounding Palm Islands. On the gate, a blue rose pattern stands out. In the blue sea where resources are relatively scarce, I am afraid that only businessmen from the endless sea have such ability and wealth. Chen Yang plans to sell some of the blueprints of the ironclad ship in hand to make up enough capital, and then start to purchase metal resources on a large scale. Just walked in. Didi's notification sounded, and a red light flashed in front of his eyes. Who sent me a message at this time? Is there something wrong with the old man? Clicking on the message, it was a familiar tone. Hi, newcomer, good evening, do you miss me? Chen Yang. Fast fart. Hey, newcomer, you are drifting away. How dare you be so rude to me, a senior navigator? Don't you always come and go like the wind? Tell me, what do you want to do this time? Is there a new exchange of information? This time, I want to buy your super sailing battleship. You still have money to buy a battleship? Chen Yang expressed doubts. This old bird, even a few units of food had to be traded with himself, probably because he was in trouble. Chen Yang sees it through but doesn't say it's broken. Credit. Is it okay to pay on credit? The other side asked weakly. On credit? Are you kidding me? What if you run away? How is this possible? I will guarantee you with the reputation of an old bird, and I will return you 10 super sailing warships in the future. How much is the old bird's reputation worth? Isn't the main theme of the endless sea plunder and betrayal? Hey, newcomer, why are you doing this? Anyway, I have provided you with so much useful information, isn't my reputation not enough? I saw Chen Yang roll his eyes. It's not impossible, but you need a mortgage. Mortgage. The other side hesitated. I want to know, what ability did you use to open the portal? Immediately, a bunch of emojis were sent over. Good boy, so you were waiting for me here. To tell you the truth, the ability to open the portal is not mine, but the ability of the Endless Sea Merchant Alliance. Holders of the Merchant Alliance VIP Gold Card can use the Gold Card authority to open the teleportation channel during transactions. You can also use the Gold Card to obtain many privileged services in the Business Alliance, such as online auctions and other privileges. I want this. Chen Yang insisted. You want this as collateral? Are you stupid? The VIP card is bound with my identity. Even if you take it, I only need to report the loss to the Business Alliance to get it back. Chen Yang grinned. Anyway, you don't have anything valuable with you, so I want this as collateral. This. Obviously, the other side hesitated. Chen Yang hastened to add fire. This super sailing battleship is my treasure. I will give it to you without mortgage. If you run away, who should I cry to? If it really doesn't work, let's forget it. Make a deal. On the opposite side, two large characters were issued repeatedly. Chen Yang seemed to hear the sound of gnashing of teeth. Voice just fell. A black card has been sent from the opposite side, and there are 5 stars on it. Isn't it a gold card? Why is it black? Hey, a newcomer is a newcomer. This is a 5-star black card of mine. It is a black card that is more noble than a gold card, and it is 5-star after spending enough money in the Business Alliance and having a special relationship. Just this card is enough to buy you 10,000 super sailing warships. TCH, just blow it. Okay, I'm too lazy to talk nonsense with you. Hurry up and send the battleship over, I'm in a hurry to use it. Chen Yang smiled, very happy. He didn't expect such a windfall. After teleporting the rewarded super sailing battleship, Chen Yang took this 5-star black card and walked into the gate of the auction house. If you guessed right, the Blue Rose Auction House is also a member of the Endless Sea Merchant Alliance. The door leading to the interior of the auction house. I want to see your supervisor. Hey, where did the lifeless thing come from? Do you know where this is? 2 tower-like bodyguards stopped in front of Chen Yang. The expressionless Chen Yang directly took out the 5-star black card. Hey, kid, I said you didn't understand, did you? Hurry up and tell me. Before the words could be spoken, the bodyguard was pulled away. Sir, may I have a look at your black card? Who are you? My lord, Zhang Hao, is the supervisor of this Blue Rose auction house. Obviously, the opponent was attracted by the black card in Chen Yang's hand, and immediately lowered his posture. Chen Yang handed over the black card, and the other party looked at it for only 5 seconds, and quickly handed over the card. Sir, please come inside. At the same time, he kicked over the bodyguard next to him. Those who don't know how to live and die, dare to take care of the distinguished guests of the Shangmeng, drag them out and give me 30 lashes. As soon as these words came out, the bodyguard immediately collapsed to the ground in fright, allowing him to be dragged away. There is even more discussion around what happened to make the director of the auction house so violent. Chen Yang squeezed the black card in his hand, a little startled. This little card is actually so powerful. Can't help but guess the identity of the old bird opposite. He was warmly welcomed into the VIP room, and the supervisor served tea and water with great enthusiasm. The supervisor was even more surprised. He didn't expect a 5-star black card boss to come to the small novice sea area. After careful inspection, the black card has no trace of fraud, and it is a genuine 5-star black card. Sir, I have little experience in a small place and offend you, please bear with me. Chen Yang waved his hand and didn't care about it. I'm here this time to negotiate a business with the auction house. As soon as he heard about the business, the supervisor became interested. I don't know what kind of business it is. I saw Chen Yang directly output a thick stack of blueprints for ironclad ships. Roughly estimated, at least several hundred sheets. These are blueprints of ironclad ships. The supervisor was shocked. This is just the first batch, do you understand what that means? The supervisor gulped. Mister, is it possible that you want to operate the metal resource business? Chen Yang cast a glance at the other party, and had to say that this supervisor was really not for nothing, and he immediately understood what Chen Yang was thinking. I use these drawings as collateral to purchase metal resources with a loan. The supervisor opened his mouth wide. If these ironclad ship blueprints entered the blue sea, how much storm would it cause? You must know that there are only 100 or 200 ironclad ships in the entire Azure Sea. This is the accumulation of the 7 fleets for decades. At that time, it is hard to imagine how high the price of metal resources will be. Chen Yong stretched out 3 fingers. 30%, I will give the supervisor 30% of the investment. Really, at this moment, the supervisor was completely excited. Is this to make a fortune with him? He suddenly panicked. Sir, Palm Island has more people with ability and capital than me, why do you? Do you believe in fate? Ah, the supervisor is confused. I really believe in fate. I believe it too. The supervisor quickly stood up. Sir, wait a moment. In a while, there are more than 10 boxes of navigation coins in the huge VIP room. And they are all navigation coins with a larger face value, at least 300 million. Sir, these are just the first investments. Chen Yong played with taste. Could it be that you are not afraid and ran away with the money? The supervisor smiled awkwardly. You are joking, the reputation of the 5-star black card is not comparable to this money, I absolutely believe in you. Chen Yong knocked on the table. This matter requires the cooperation of you and me. It may be difficult for me alone. Of course, although she didn't know what Chen Yong was doing at the auction house, Xiaolu, as a guide, still waited outside the auction house in a reserved manner until Chen Yong came out. Sir, is there anywhere else to go? Not for the time being, I'll go back to the hotel by myself, you go back first. No, but, come on, use this little money to buy something delicious, you are too skinny. Chen Yong handed over 100 navigation coins. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. By the way, if you have a chance, leave Palm Island with me. These words stunned the little beggar-like girl in front of her. What? Go get ready. I'll wait for you at the port tomorrow. Have you seen that ship? That's my ship. Chen Yong pointed to the white sail warship moored in the port. Really? The little girl's eyes widened. Of course, just to give you a ride. On the way to the Sea of Storms, you can choose any island to disembark. I will definitely come. Xiaolu turned and ran, not forgetting to wave to Chen Yong. Sir, see you tomorrow. Looking at the back of the little girl leaving, I felt a lot of emotion for a while. Chen Yong shook his head, why think so much? Sudden. Ding, the system task is released. System task. Guard Palm Island. Defend Palm Island. Successfully defeat the pirates attacking Palm Island. Mission reward. V-class destroyer, 3 technology points. System task. Chen Yong looked up at the end of the sea level. Why didn't he receive a message from the old man? Are wondering. A red message flashed in front of my eyes. Captain, the Titan has found pirates. They are coming from the southern waters, 20 nautical miles away from Palm Island, and they are expected to invade Palm Island in an hour. So fast. Where's the White Pine Fleet? 80 nautical miles to the east. Chen Yong faintly had a bad premonition. Little green. Chen Yong turned his head, and the girl had run away without a trace. Why don't you come sooner or later? Why come at this time? Announcement from the administrator of the Endless Sea. Palm Island will be invaded by pirates. Voyagers in the area are advised to prepare for defense. If you succeed in defeating the pirate defense, you will be rewarded with resources and nautical coins. If you fail to defend, the main ship will receive a permanent attribute reduction penalty. Immediately afterwards, the announcement from the administrator of the Endless Sea sounded. Regional, only for 80 nautical miles in the Palm Island area. Chen Yong narrowed his eyes. At 80 nautical miles, the White Pine Fleet was just outside the range circle. What are these guys up to? Captain, I have dispatched a U-boat to respond, and it is expected to arrive within 2 hours. Orf sent a message. Chen Yong snorted coldly. I see, the White Pine Fleet is very calculating. Chen Yong thought of the pirate invasion 2 years ago and figured out something. At the same time, the Rookie channel is also buzzing. Pirate invasion of Palm Island. Is it a world quest? Regional missions only. Only navigators within 80 nautical miles of Palm Island can receive the mission. I heard it is still mandatory. Compulsory guard mission. Wouldn't the reward be off the charts? Upstairs, the danger is also off the charts. A Tier 6 battleship, still don't want to join in the fun. At this time, the piercing sirens of Palm Island sounded. The sharp chirping broke the 2-year tranquility of Palm Island. Countless panicked island residents rushed out of the room, looking at the dark sea in the distance with horror. South of Palm Island, the dark sky was suddenly lit up by a red skull. The crossed blades under the skull seemed to be dripping with blood. Run, the pirates are coming. The pirates are coming. Get out of here. There are boats to sail, and those who don't have boats to drive small sampans have to leave here. Only the newcomers who have just arrived on Palm Island are stunned. Why did you encounter pirates when you first came to the trading island? And is it a mandatory task? Chen Yang contacted Orf. Mr. Orf, this battle depends on you to command. Leader, leave it to me. Orf's tone was obviously agitated, and the famous admiral obviously couldn't wait. Chen Yang was not idle either, taking advantage of this opportunity to purchase metal resources in large quantities. In just half an hour, he acquired at least 100,000 units of metal resources. At the same time, he sold all his 100,000 units of timber resources. As expected of a businessman from the endless sea, even in the face of pirate attacks, the business should still be done without any stop. 1200 ratio of metal resources, Chen Yang wants as much as he has. With the 300 million navigation coins loaned by the director of the auction house, Chen Yang almost wiped out the inventory of Palm Island. In the end, 200,000 units of metal resources were bought. For a while, the price of metal resources across Palm Island has risen in an all-round way. Chen Yang chose to stop when the ratio rose to 2,500. It's not worth buying any more. Next came coal resources. Compared with metal resources, coal resources are energy consumables after all, and the price is slightly more expensive, with a ratio of 2,000 per unit. Chen Yang directly acquired 150,000 units. All the funds from selling timber will be invested in coal resource dealers, and most of the coal resources in the entire Palm Island will be bought. The remaining small part was hoarded by Supervisor Zhang Hao, including the remaining metal resources on Palm Island. He is a shrewd businessman. How could he give up this opportunity to make money? Captain, the radar has detected dozens of ironclad ships hiding near Palm Island. Just before the pirates invaded, Chen Yang received a message from Worf. Can you confirm whose ironclad ship it is? There are not many ironclad ships in the Blue Sea area. The biggest possibility is the White Pine Fleet. Captain, I suspect that they are targeting you. There is no need to doubt that they are coming for me. Taking advantage of the opportunity of the pirate invasion, Palm Island has their spies, and they have locked my location early. I own a Dreadnought Battleship Beyond the Times, which is a threat to the White Pine Fleet. What do you think, as the overlord of the sea, what will be your attitude towards threats? Captain, I'll come pick you up right away. Speaking of Worf, he planned to command 2 battleships to help Chen Yang. You don't need to come here, since they want to play, then they will do what they can. It just fits in with my metal resources hype plan. At the same time, White Pine Island, Lord Baisong, the pirate attack has begun, and our fleet has locked Chen Yang's battleship. On the gorgeous sofa, the leisurely man slowly raised his head and looked away from the nautical map on the desktop. Are you sure Chen Yang is still on Palm Island? The news is correct. As long as he leaves the port, our hidden fleet can sink his ship in an instant. Very well, other fleets are also ready. I am very interested in his dreadnought, remember to capture it alive. If it is broken, I will ask you. The confidant smiled confidently. Please rest assured, my lord, as long as Chen Yang dies, his battleship will become a lordless thing, ready to be plundered and possessed, just wait for my good news. Bai Song waved his hand, and continued to look back at the nautical chart on the table. Not long after the cronies left, the door opened again. Captain, there is a situation. Is there a situation? Information says that there are big figures from the endless sea coming to the Blue Sea. Bai Song glanced at the other party. He was dressed in a white and straight military uniform, with a serious face like a chiseled face. Big character from the endless sea. According to the Business Alliance, some people are hoarding a large amount of metal resources and coal resources. I also heard that a large number of blueprints for ironclad ships will be auctioned in the near future. Hoarding resources, ironclad ship drawings. These 2 messages made the man serious. Quickly find out the authenticity of the source of the news. If it is true, those guys must not let those guys get there first. This time when the Sea of Storms opens, the legendary Azure City may appear again. Last time, our White Pine fleet was not strong enough to compete for it. This time, we must not miss the opportunity again. Clear, Palm Island. With the sound of booming guns, the pirate invasion officially began. Because it is compulsory, all navigators must set sail to meet the pirate fleet. Distance, mighty, at least thousands of pirate ships, all first-class sailing warships. There are even several ironclad ships. Chen Yang seriously suspected that this task was really for newcomers. The pirates are coming, brothers, go. What the hell, is this a pirate? How to fight pirates who are stronger than the three major fleets? I'm going to withdraw. This fart, punish me, it's better than losing my life. Upstairs, don't be cowardly, isn't there Mr. Chen Yang here? What are you afraid of? As soon as they heard the word Chen Yang, the couple immediately calmed down. In the distance, they saw two huge ships approaching on the horizon. The billowing thick smoke can be seen clearly from tens of nautical miles away. Wait, Mr. Chen Yang seems to be still on Palm Island. Everyone turned their heads and saw the white sailing warship. The pier is shallow, and it is impossible to dock the Dreadnought-class battleship with a draft of 8 or 9 meters. So it seems understandable that Chen Yang chose sailing warships to land on the island. Everyone watching, the sailing warship moved and began to set sail, heading towards the direction of the pirates' attack. However, when the battleship was less than 1 nautical mile away from the port, a series of dazzling flames suddenly flashed across the sky. Like flying meteors, hundreds of shells flew towards the white sailing warship one after another. Boom boom boom. It's not the solid bullets that are mainstream in the Azure Sea territory, but artillery shells. Although the caliber is slightly smaller, sufficient numbers can still cause great destructive power. Look back. A few kilometers away, more than a dozen ferocious ironclad ships crazily spewed flames. In order to increase the hit rate, all the shells in all the main guns are shot out in an instant. In an instant, the white sail warship was overwhelmed by the flames of the explosion. Accompanied by the creaking sound of the broken keel, the overwhelmed sailing warship was blown into 2 pieces. Accompanied by the violent explosion, the gunpowder chamber of the cabin was ignited. The soaring water column completely tore through the hull. In the unbelievable eyes of everyone, the white sail warship carrying the hopes of the newcomers slowly sank to the bottom of the sea. No one can survive such a bombardment, not even the big guy. How can this be? Boss Chen Yang was sunk. I don't believe it. How did Chen Yang get sunk? Who exactly? In the Azure Sea World Channel, the information is refreshed quickly. Until a white conspicuous message appeared. Bandit Chen Yang, who disregarded the rules of the White Pine Fleet and flouted the law, he deserves to be punished. The White Pine Fleet represents justice, and it will be punished on the spot, as an example to everyone else. Bandit Chen Yang, who disregarded the rules of the White Pine Fleet and flouted the law, he deserves to be punished. The White Pine Fleet represents justice, and it will be punished on the spot, as an example to everyone else. 3 consecutive full-frequency announcements made all the newcomers completely dumbfounded. The news that the rookie Nova was shot down by the White Pine Fleet spread throughout the Blue Sea in an instant. Moon Bay. Brother Aocean, did you see the news just now? HMPH, I said earlier that when newcomers come to the Endless Sea, it's best to keep a low profile, otherwise they will end up being wiped out sooner or later. Aocean snorted coldly, not feeling the news was abrupt. Chen Yang's death, I'm afraid Orf will retaliate wildly, and there will be a good show to watch. Brother Aocean, should we express our solidarity? After all, Chen Yang is from our Blue Star. I can't swallow this breath. Solidarity. Of course we must support, and we must support loudly. It is best to designate the White Pine Fleet as an enemy, so that it will be beneficial for us to contact the Moon Fleet. Understood, Brother Aocean, I'll do it now. Red Beard C. On the drifting sun never set, some people are happy while others are sad. Without Chen Yang, the limelight that was covered by the rookie group will be regained by them. The sad thing is that there is a sense of sadness that the rabbit dies and the fox mourns. Beside, on the first-class battleship Bullfight, the red-haired captain asked loudly. Captain Edward, shall we continue to Redbeard Island? Edward glanced at the blue waves in the distance. These foreigners are unreliable, they always want to swallow us newcomers to fill themselves. Let's go, target the coral islands in front of us, go and plunder, try to strengthen our power, and prepare for the opening of the Sea of Storms. Coral islands, haha, just what I want. The man turned around and yelled loudly, left full rudder, target southeast, target coral islands. Tens of thousands of sailboats followed in a mighty manner, heading for the distant coral islands. Palm Island. The newcomers who followed Chen Yang to Palm Island were completely confused, as if the pillars in their hearts suddenly collapsed. The White Pine Fleet of the Dog Day, I will fight with you. It's obvious that you can't beat me, Chen Yang, you sneak attack me, you guys really deserve to die. Thousands of mighty sailing warships rushed towards the ironclad ship that had just sunk the Chen Yang battleship. The commander of the White Pine Fleet looked at these crazy newcomers with cold eyes. Withdraw. Rumble. The steam turbine spewed billowing smoke. Although the speed was only about 15 knots, it was not something a sailing warship with a top speed of 10 knots could catch up to. Stupid Blue Star people, Chen Yang is dead, you should think about how to face the pirate attack. Accompanied by insolent laughter, the armored fleet left the battlefield straight away. Only then did the newcomers react. The White Pine Fleet broke the no-attack rule in the safe zone by attacking pirates, and hid nearby, waiting for Chen Yang to board the ship and leave, and then set fire to sink his ship. Although the newcomers were furious, they could only watch the ironclad ship slowly move away. At this time, a 400-kilogram shell spanned 8 kilometers and accurately hit a retreating ironclad ship. The armor-piercing warhead accurately hit the engine room, destroying the power of the ironclad ship. The next second, the second shell hit, and the high-explosive shell poured into the large hole opened by the armor-piercing shell. Boom! The violent explosion detonated the armored ship's ammunition depot. The soaring flames illuminated the dark sea. What happened? What happened? They couldn't believe that someone could hit an ironclad ship 8 kilometers away in the dark. The commander of the armored fleet was even more stunned. The sound of the cannon was definitely Chen Yang's giant ship. It was someone driving his ship over for revenge. The newcomers couldn't help cheering when they saw this scene. At the same time, on the bridge of the U-boat, a guy who was blown to pieces by the gunfire was gnawing on a chicken leg with one hand and drinking coconut juice with the other. While looking at the gorgeous fireworks rising from the sea in the distance, he happily raised the coconut in his hand towards the sinking ironclad ship. This person is not Chen Yang, who else? As early as when this armored fleet launched an attack, he had discovered them with the help of radar. After boarding the ship leisurely, he used his teleportation ability to transfer to the U-boat lurking in the nearby waters before the White Pine Fleet was covered by artillery fire. However, the loss of a first-class sailing warship is nothing more than heartbreaking. Probably, you all thought I was dead. Chen Yang chuckled, but his eyes were full of frost. White Pine Fleet, right. Just wait for me, I want you to return it 100 times and 1,000 times. To be honest, Chen Yang never expected that the White Pine Fleet would be so ruthless and decisive. Say it and do it. Didn't it just kill his 3 thugs in conflict with the checkpoint, and he was about to put himself to death? He didn't even hesitate to set up such a big game. The people behind it are really deliberate. Captain, are you okay? The message of the old man's concern came. Don't worry, I'm fine. These fools sneak up on me and beat me hard. Don't let me let even an ironclad ship go. Yes, Chen Yang seemed to hear a full-hearted response. At this moment, the eyes of the old admiral were full of brilliance. It seems that as long as he stands on this battleship, he is the king of this sea area. The Intrepid is full left rudder, and the Titan is full rudder again. Seize the T prefix, turn on the naval gun auxiliary radar, and let these fools go to the sea to feed the fish. Voice just fell. The 2 giant ships accelerated wildly, and chased them left and right at a high speed of 26 knots. It is in the shape of 2 bread sandwiches. To be honest, even the commander of the ironclad warship of the White Pine Fleet didn't expect why the opponent's warship supported them so quickly. I can't even figure out how to achieve precise hits in this dark ocean. The only thing that could make them figure it out was the 305mm shells from the 2 Dreadnought-class battleships that kept flying towards them. Although their ironclad ships have good protection against the front guns of sailing warships, Under the attack of a 305mm cannon, it is no stronger than an egg shell. The opponent is an extremely experienced battleship commander who knows the weaknesses of ironclad ships like the back of his hand. Seize the T prefix at the first time, and after catching up with them, concentrate on bombing with full firepower on the side string. And keep a safe distance of more than 5 kilometers. The range of the ironclad ship is not satisfactory, and the night is dark, and the line of sight is less than 1 kilometer. Only the flickering flames could be seen 5 kilometers away. Immediately afterwards, the covering artillery shells penetrated their armor and exploded in the core of the hull. Back, back. Facing the Intrepid who was blocking the front, the ironclad commander retreated decisively to avoid the attack. At this time, in the bridge command room of the Intrepid, Orff was radioing the Titan. The enemy ship is a second-generation ironclad ship with an average displacement of about 5,000 tons. It is equipped with a 180mm 25 caliber breech-loading gun with a maximum range of 8 kilometers, an effective range of 2 kilometers, and a maximum speed of 15 knots. 5 ships have been successfully sunk, leaving 8 ships. I have intercepted the target's heading, and now the Titan is ready to attack. Voice just fell. The face of the commander of the ironclad ship who thought he had escaped from the sky suddenly changed. Because he heard the rumble of guns behind the fleet. Whoosh, whoosh, sharp piercing sound came. Not good, there is another one. Full left rudder. Voice just fell. Under the guidance of the naval gun radar, 3 armor-piercing projectiles penetrated the waterline armor and hit the engine room, instantly paralyzing its power. No, the commander yelled, knowing that his end was coming. Accompanied by the flames soaring into the sky, the flagship was shot into the sole, and the explosion tore the outer armor. The keel broke and quickly sank into the water. After sinking the flagship, the Intrepid and Titan fired at full force, easily destroying the other 7 ships. In the trembling eyes of all the newcomers, the powerful armored fleet slowly sank into the sea. They could only see the flames of the artillery and hear the violent explosion after the battleship was shot. Not even the shadow of the 2 Dreadnought-class battleships could be seen. Orff issued an announcement. The White Pine Fleet is despicable and shameless, launched a sneak attack, this hatred is not shared, I, Orff, declare war on the White Pine Fleet here, and I will never die. Such a statement instantly spread throughout the entire Azure Sea. People from all walks of life have different attitudes. Some people ridicule over their own strength, some gloat, as long as they can cause some trouble for the White Pine Fleet, they are very happy. There are also people who are filled with righteous indignation and despise the sneak attack of the White Pine Fleet. And everyone seems to have reached a consensus. The rookie who was famous a few days ago has a high probability of being sunk. But they didn't feel regretful or surprised. After all, this is an endless sea, and there is never a shortage of talents and new stars. Only by living can you have the last laugh. The White Pine Fleet sank Shenyang, and built more than a dozen ironclad ships, ha ha ha, it's really interesting. This is a taunt from the Redbeard Fleet. As one of the overlords of the sea area, sneaking up on newcomers and making a lot of chicken feathers, this is the joke of the year. Signed Morning Star Fleet. Moon Fleet welcomes all newcomers. The Moon Fleet will provide shelter for newcomers. Welcome to Moon Bay. The Moon Fleet took the opportunity to advertise. HMPH, he's just a rookie, dare to threaten the White Pine Fleet. My Lakawa Fleet is the first to refuse. As the most loyal ally of the White Pine Fleet, we will fight side by side. This is the overlord from the Lakawa Sea in the north, the Lakawa Fleet, and the loyal ally of the White Pine Fleet. Orff, the White Pine Fleet has accepted your challenge. The White Pine Fleet will let you understand what it means to be overwhelmed. The White Pine Fleet finally responded. The attitudes of these overlords in the Azure Sea region are different. The White Pine Fleet is domineering. It can be seen that the popularity is not very good. The World Channel is buzzing. Orff didn't stop. After successfully destroying the ironclads of the White Pine Fleet, Orff, under the instruction of Chen Yang, began to attack the incoming pirates. On the U-boat, Chen Yang looked playful. Once my goal has been achieved, there is no need to stay here. Turn around and head out to the sea off Palm Island. There is Orff here, he is very relieved. The wonderful naval battle just now was completely a textbook-crushing battle. Although the Dreadnought-class battleship has an absolute generational advantage over the ironclad ship, if there is no excellent combat level and command ability, No matter how powerful a weapon is, it is nothing more than a fire stick. Chen Yang believes that Worf will definitely write his legend in this endless sea. Of course, on the legend, write your own name. Looking back at Palm Island, I swore secretly that I would come back. Go back to the submarine cabin and take a look at the chart. The finger pressed on the red dot on the chart. Go here. Although there are many pirates, there are even 3 turtle shell ironclad ships. But under the intensive artillery attack of the 2 Dreadnought-class battleships, the pirates' offensive collapsed instantly. After sinking the pirate flagship, the rookies swarmed up and, led by 2 Dreadnought-class battleships, went all out to completely crush the pirate offensive. When the administrator's announcement sounded, all the defensive rookies breathed a sigh of relief. Congratulations to all the defenders who have successfully defended Palm Island, and rewards will be distributed according to their respective contributions. At the same time, the pirates' offensive circle slowly disappeared, and the fleeing pirates suddenly disappeared into the fog after rushing out of the defensive circle. Declare this time the defense of Palm Island has come to an end. But the cheers seemed to be few and far between. All the newcomers were affected by the previous changes and were depressed. Before the Blue Star Voyagers rose up, they lost troops and lost generals, which somewhat cast a thick layer of haze on the hearts of all newcomers. Revenge, I don't know who suddenly roared, which immediately aroused the sympathy of the Blue Star newcomers. The mighty sailing warship planned to set sail and go to Baisong Island to ask for an explanation. However, Worf commanded 2 battleships to stand in front of them. I can understand everyone's feelings, but anger cannot succeed in revenge. The White Pine Fleet is powerful, and everyone needs to become stronger as soon as possible. It's not good to say, everyone rushing over with a feverish head, it's no different from sending you to death. The words are rough and the rationale is not rough. Although everyone is angry, they know how much they are. Not to mention dealing with the White Pine Fleet, they couldn't deal with those ironclad ships just now. Everyone, go to Palm Island Auction House, there may be an opportunity to become stronger there. Leaving such an inexplicable sentence, Worf has commanded the battleship to disappear into the vast sea. Looking at the direction, it should be towards Baisong Island. All the newcomers clenched their fists, resentful. I hate myself for being too weak and not strong enough. Not even the voice of revenge can be shouted. At this time, someone suddenly shouted, a large resource island has been refreshed in the southeast of Palm Island. Brothers and sisters, hurry up to collect resources to strengthen yourself and avenge Chen Yang. Everyone opened the chart, and sure enough, a large resource island appeared 300 nautical miles away from Palm Island. The mighty sailing warship set sail, with the will of revenge, heading towards the resource island. At the same time, off the coast of Palm Island, Chen Yang is receiving the award. The Endless Sea Pirates Defense Award began to be distributed, because it was his battleship that sank the pirate flagship, so the rewards were also the most generous among the newcomers this time. 5,000 units of wood resources, 2,000 units of metal resources, and 1,000 units of coal resources. At the moment when he just stepped out of the novice course, Chen Yang would jump up happily. Now with huge sums of money in hand, these rewards are better than nothing. Congratulations, you have obtained special equipment, the pirate captain's firecracker pistol. Yo, have you exploded your equipment? Chen Yang hurriedly received the reward, and a dexterous and simple pistol-style short-barreled firecracker fell into his hands. This gun is a rear-action flintlock gun, filled with spherical lead bullets and fired with flint. Although the range is very short, it is better than cold weapons. Not only that, this equipment actually has special attributes. Pirate Captain's Blaster Pistol, an exclusive weapon from the Pirate Captain. Additional skills. Pirate Captain, come a bodyguard. Pirate Captain, you can summon 1 to 3 level 5 pirate ships to fight for you, the duration is 10 hours and the cooling time is 24 hours. Come bodyguard, you can summon 10 armed pirates to fight for you, the duration is 5 hours and the cooling time is 24 hours. What's the use of this thing? Self-defense, summoning. Chen Yang was a little dumbfounded. For those newcomers, a proper killer, for yourself. What can I do? It can only be said that there was an extra toy, which was randomly stuffed into the system space by Chen Yang. The next step is the system rewards. Congratulations to the host for completing the task of guarding Palm Island. Get mission rewards, 3 technology points. Rewarded Type 5 destroyer. Chen Yong rubbed his hands. The long-awaited destroyer finally arrived. Type 5 multipurpose destroyer. The empire on which the sun never sets. 1917 shipbuilding program. Full load displacement, 1508 tons. Length, 95.1 meters. Width, 9 meters. Speed, 34 knots. Endurance, 2,400 nautical miles at 20 knots. Armament, 102 mm MKV single naval gun, 2 front and 2 rear. Anti-aircraft weapon, a 76 mm anti-aircraft gun. 3,533 mm torpedo launchers. Anti-submarine weapons, 4 depth charge throwers, 2 depth charge throwing slots. Crew, 120 people. Note, the 102 mm MKV naval gun is universal for anti-aircraft flat fire, with an effective range of 11 kilometers, 3 seconds shot. The appearance of destroyers is both accidental and inevitable. As battleships march towards the era of giant ship cannons. In order to deal with the huge battleships with strong armor, various countries have developed small torpedo boats that can launch large caliber torpedoes. This small, fast torpedo boat is not easy to be hit, and poses a huge threat to battleships. Even a battleship with a strong defense cannot withstand a large caliber torpedo at the waterline. Then, a special ship was born to protect the battleship. It has a light body, powerful speed, and is equipped with a small caliber rapid fire gun, which is specially used to deal with enemy torpedo boats and expel these small ships that pose a threat to battleships. Later, with the continuous development of the destroyer's changing needs for naval warfare, it was upgraded with functions such as mine-laying, air-to-air, sea-to-sea, anti-submarine, and even anti-ship. Until the 21st century, when Chen Yong lived, guided missile destroyers had evolved into main battleships integrating offense and defense in the Blue Star countries. Of course, V-type destroyers are not as powerful as missile warships in the later era, but they can be regarded as indispensable and important equipment in the era of battleships. What Chen Yong likes is the speed of the destroyer. The speed of the U-shaped submarine is too slow, and the surface speed is only 13 knots. When I ran to my destination 1,000 nautical miles away, the day Lily was cold. The speed of the V-type destroyer is 34 knots, plus the 20% acceleration of his own title, soaring directly to nearly 41 knots. This speed is absolutely impossible in the real world, but it is easily broken by the unreasonable endless sea. Should the V-type destroyer be called? Yes, Chen Yong can't wait to bid farewell to the classic car and experience the feeling of sailing on the sea. The blue light flickered, and the slender and small destroyer fell into the sea water, setting off white waves. Boarding a destroyer and feeling the gentle sea breeze in the blue sea is not comparable to the stuffy environment like the iron coffin of a U-shaped submarine. V-type destroyer, number 101, on behalf of the entire crew welcome the Captain Commander. As soon as Chen Yong boarded the ship, more than 100 elite sailors greeted him neatly, full of vigor. Chen Yong waved domineeringly. The whole ship is ready to be in place, the target, Shui Island. Shui Island, the third largest island within the sphere of influence of the White Pine Fleet. Although the area is not as large as the main island, Baisong Island, and Tulian Island, which has a well-developed trade, it is the core shipbuilding base of the Baisong Fleet. That's right, a shipbuilding base. Although the Endless Sea can build battleships by hand, the blueprints are limited, and most ships still have to rely on the dock for construction. The difference is that the shipyard of the Endless Sea does not need to recruit workers, and starts manufacturing from every part of the ship. You only need to build a shipyard, invest in resources, and wait for the shipyard to be completed automatically. Of course, if conditions permit, you can also build a modified dock and do your own research and modification. Chen Yang's target was Shui Island, and the Baisong fleet did not pay attention to martial arts, but attacked him secretly. Chen Yang couldn't swallow this breath. If you don't give the White Pine Fleet a little color, you really think that the Blue Star Voyagers are soft persimmons, which can be kneaded at will. The destroyer, with a speed close to 41 knots, soared on the sea surface, and it took about a day to reach Shui Island. Just when there was a lot of noise outside about his death, Chen Yong received a message from Supervisor Zhang Hao. He probably thought he was sunk and was running around in a hurry. Reply quickly. I'm fine, don't worry, everything is going according to plan. Seeing the reply, Zhang Hao, who fetched water from 15 buckets, breathed a sigh of relief. Almost, he thought that his nearly 400 million investment was all in vain. Mr. Chen Yang, the auction will start in 6 hours. Zhang Hao made a special reminder. Okay, I'll take a nap first, and send a message to remind me when the time comes. After closing the communication channel, Chen Yang turned his attention to the system ship upgrade interface. After a few missions, except that I spent 2 points to upgrade the battleship. Now I still have 5 technology points in my hand. Tech points are a good thing. Not only can it be used to upgrade ships, but it can also be used to research technology. The research section now opens 4 major sections. Power, artillery, armor, other equipment. Chen Yang skipped the first 3 and clicked on the other equipment sections. There are 5 branches of torpedoes, mines, depth charges, sonar, and radar. This time to Shui Island, Chen Yang will give them a big one. Point your finger directly on the mine branch research. Sea mines are not high-tech weapons. They were invented as early as the Ming Dynasty in the 15th century and began to be used in naval battles. In the 18th century, with the improvement of industrial level and the birth of new types of bombs, the large-scale manufacturing of sea mines began to be used in modern naval warfare in a real sense. Naval mines, known as the poor man's weapon, are also starting to shine. It is very effective in blocking and ambush ships. System prompt. Do you want to consume 2 technology points to unlock research trigger mines? Yes. Ding. The research on the trigger mine is started, and the estimated research time is 6 hours. Voice just fell. The research countdown starts to appear on the trigger mine. Under the mines, there are various branches of mines. Magnetic mines, acoustic mines, hydraulic mines, remote-controlled mines, self-propelled mines, etc. Chen Yang watched with greedy eyes. Unfortunately, these mines require technology points to unlock. After deciding to study trigger mines, Chen Yang turned his attention to sonar. Sonar. It is a technology that uses the propagation and reflection characteristics of sound waves in water to conduct navigation and ranging through electroacoustic conversion and information processing. It also refers to electronic equipment that uses this technology to detect existence, position, nature, direction of movement, etc. and communicate with underwater targets. Blue Star's first sonar was successfully researched by the Sun Never Set Navy in 1906. It is specially used to detect underwater objects such as submarines hidden in the sea, submarine reefs, icebergs, etc. The invention of sonar ended the situation where surface ships were helpless against submerged submarines. Although the Blue Sea is still at the early stage of sailing warships and ironclad ships. But it has to be guarded against. In case someone already owns a submarine, sonar is the best way to protect their own fleet. The system prompts, do you want to unlock the passive sonar technology? Yes. Chen Yang unlocked the first branch of sonar. Passive sonar. Hydrophones. Chen Yang sleeps this time. A piece of news from the Blue Sea Business Alliance sent people from all walks of life in the Blue Sea to rush to Palm Island. The news claims that there are a large number of ironclad blueprints that will be auctioned tomorrow. It can be called a large batch. It is definitely not as simple as 10 or 20. If you are close, take the fastest boat to Palm Island immediately. Those who were farther away, some people hurriedly sent people to participate in the auction, and those without people also tried to find a way to make connections. In short, Palm Island, which had just experienced a pirate invasion, became hot again. The news that Chen Yang was sunk before was also automatically ignored by these big forces in the Blue Sea. Not to mention a newcomer, even if a few large fleets are destroyed, they will not be able to cause much waves in the 30,000 miles of blue waters. Everyone is here for the drawings. At the same time, large-scale hoarding of steel materials has also begun. It wasn't until then that they suddenly discovered that the huge amount of metal resources originally circulating in the market had disappeared without a trace overnight. For a while, the price of metal resources rose rapidly, from the initial price of more than 1,000 to 4,000 in just 3 hours. As time went on, the price continued to soar. The White Pine Fleet hastily mobilized the fleet and rushed to Palm Island. In order to sink Chen Yang, they lost more than a dozen ironclad ships, and the price was not insignificant. Now that the Sea of Storms is about to open, it is necessary to replenish its strength in the shortest possible time, otherwise it will be at a disadvantage in the future battle. Bai Song even personally ordered to buy more blueprints of ironclad ships at all costs. Chen Yong woke up to the sound of rumbling turbines. This sleep was extremely comfortable, and I slept until 8 o'clock the next day. After opening the communication, I found that Zhang Hao sent him a dozen messages in succession. The auction had already opened an hour ago, waiting for news from Chen Yong. Sorry, overslept. Chen Yong sent a message, making the anxious Zhang Hao want to cry and laugh at the same time. My elder brother, you can sleep well at such an important time. The 7th Fleet has already arrived, even the famous New Century Fleet. New Century Grand Fleet. Chen Yong had never heard of this name. My brother, you should authorize me quickly. I have dragged on for so long. If I don't sell blueprints, I'm afraid that the 7 major fleets will jointly blow up my auction house. Chen Yong smiled. Use my black card authority to start a live broadcast. I want to see the auction situation. Come on, you are the eldest brother, you have the final say. When the clear picture was transmitted to Chen Yong was amazed. As expected of the Endless Sea Merchant Alliance, this technique is not bad. Looking around, I found that everything that should come has come. Chen Yong locked on the man in the blue navy uniform and glasses at a glance. He is the second in command of the White Pine Fleet, Blue Cloud. It is said that he is Bai Song's most trusted friend and confidant, and controls half of the Bai Song fleet's fleet power. If it weren't for being unable to fire on the safe zone, Chen Yong really wanted to call back the Intrepid and Titan to give the auction house a shot. As for the Intrepid and Titan, under the surveillance of a large number of White Pine Fleet, they rumbled to White Pine Island, looking like they would fight to the death with the White Pine Fleet. Certainly, it's all a strategy. It's just a cover used by Chen Yong to attract firepower. To cover his real purpose, Shui Island. In the auction house, there are mostly spokespersons. The Blue Sea is vast, and it is impossible for the big men of the 7 fleets to come in person. Even so, the huge auction house was overcrowded. At this time, Zhang Hao, full of confidence, stepped onto the stage. Holding a delicate scroll in his hand, his appearance instantly attracted everyone's attention. His eyes locked, to be precise, he was holding a roll in his hand. It is roughly estimated that there are only a few dozen. Everyone, welcome to the Palm Island Auction House. I think everyone should have heard the news. The Palm Island Auction House is fortunate to have taken over a batch of blueprints for ironclad ships. Mr. Supervisor, I would like to ask, who is the owner of the blueprint of the ironclad ship? Someone asked loudly. Zhang Hao chuckled, but did not answer. Asking for information about the seller is a taboo for auction houses. The other party did not give up, and then asked. I don't know how many blueprints of the ironclad ship are auctioned this time. This can always reveal a thing or two, right? Zhang Hao pointed to the reel in his hand. I can only reveal part of it. I have 50 copies in my hand, and this is just the first batch. There were discussions in the auction house, and they accurately grasped the first few words. On the V-type destroyer, Chen Yong was eating apples, leisurely. Zhang Hao is worthy of being a professional, and his level of appetizing is first-rate. At this time, ding, the system prompts. The trigger mine has been researched and is officially unlocked. Chen Yong quickly checked the mines he had unlocked. It is divided into small mines of 500 kg class and large mines of 1100 kg class. The large mine was directly passed by Chen Yong. There are very few large warships with a displacement of more than 10,000 tons in the Blue Sea, and a 500 kg one is enough to easily sink an ironclad ship. System, can you make smaller mines? In his opinion, 500 kg is a bit overkill, and to deal with sailing warships, 100 or 200 kg of mines are more than enough. System prompt. If required, the scale can be reduced according to the specific use. The minimum is 50 kg, and the charge can be increased by 50 kg for each level. Very good. Since that's the case, 100,000 50 kg mines and 100 kg mines will be manufactured first. Captain, I'm already within 500 nautical miles of Baisong Island. The enemy has sent a large number of sailing warships to besiege me. Do you want to attack Baisong Island by surprise? During lunch, Chen Yong received a message from Worf. Don't get too close to White Pine Island, be more angry, sink more ships, and attract the attention of the White Pine Fleet. Receive. Without Chen Yang's order, Orf would never give the White Pine Fleet any chance. With high speed, powerful main guns and armor, as long as you don't foolishly plunge in, you won't even be able to touch his shadow on the other side. Free from the vicinity of White Pine Island and put pressure on the White Pine Fleet, the strategic goal has been achieved. At the same time, Type 5 destroyer. The voice of the observing sailors sounded. Captain, the White Pine Fleet is in action ahead, and Shui Island is less than 100 nautical miles away from our ship. Turn around, don't be spotted by the White Pine Fleet, wait for night to fall. By the way, are there any other islands and reefs nearby? Reporting to the commander, there is an uninhabited island and reef near 40 nautical miles from our ship. Very good, approaching the uninhabited island and reef. At the same time, Chen Yang waved his hand and planned to build 20 V-type destroyers first. Ding, the system prompts that you have placed an order for 20 V-type destroyers. Estimated completion time, 16 hours. This is the first time Chen Yang has used the system's shipbuilding capabilities. Now I have abundant resources in my hands, more than 200,000 units of metal resources. A V-type destroyer is only more than 1,500 tons, and its consumption is only 1/10 of that of a Dreadnought-class battleship. Building 20 ships is only equivalent to the resources of 2 Dreadnought-class battleships. For Chen Yang now, it's just a drizzle. Another look at the mine. 50,000 of the 200,000 mines have been manufactured, and it is expected that all the mines will be completed when the destroyer is completed. Next, taking advantage of the darkness, 20 high-speed destroyers were used to scatter the 200,000 mines around Shui Island, completely surrounding the shipbuilding base. System, make another U-2A submarine. Chen Yang planned to take advantage of the waiting opportunity to go to Shui Island to spy on the situation. Ding, you have placed an order for a U-2A submarine, and the estimated construction time, 2 hours. However, for a small boat of 300 tons, the time required is very short. Chen Yang also thought about manufacturing U-2A submarines on a large scale, but he was frightened by the high price of torpedoes and decided to suspend his idea of submarine wolf pack tactics. Moreover, using torpedoes to hit these sailing warships, sinking one to plunder resources, and even not getting back the cost. At the same time, auction. The scramble for ironclad warships by various forces has entered a fever pitch. I'll give you 200 metal Genichi tickets. I'll offer 205 units. 300 from the Black Dragon Fleet. Is your Black Dragon Fleet crazy? You give 300 units of metal resources for a blueprint. Why, can't you increase the price if you have the ability? The head of the Black Dragon Fleet sneered. Your Black Dragon Fleet is driving up the price, what good is it for you? Boom boom boom. There was a knocking sound. On the auction stage, Zhang Hao's sharp eyes shot over. Sir, the auction house strictly prohibits public discussion of prices, attacking or threatening others. If you are not satisfied, you can leave. As soon as the words came out, the man quickly shut up, for fear of being kicked out of the auction. He is just a representative. If he messes up and gets blacklisted, he is afraid that his body will be displayed on the bow of the ship tomorrow. I declare again that this auction advocates the 3 principles of fairness, justice and openness. If there is any dissatisfaction, you can leave the auction now. The other people who were complaining quickly shut up, and they still understand the truth of shooting the top bird. Zhang Hao nodded in satisfaction. All right, the auction continues. The batch of 20 blueprints of the Black Dragon Fleet is priced at 300 units of metal Genichi. Is there a higher price? 300 times. 302 times. 303 times. Boom, the auction hammer fell. Make a deal. The voice fell, indicating that the first batch of 50 copies had all been sold. Others don't seem worried because they know the big ones are in the back. At this time, 2 beautiful staff members brought in a large box. The box was opened, and it was full of blueprints for ironclad ships. There are hundreds of them at least. Everyone stretched their necks and tried to wait and see. The corner of Zhang Hao's mouth rose slightly. The auction of the second batch of ironclad warships has officially begun. The second batch has a total of 400 sheets, auctioned in groups of 40. The highest bidder wins. The first 50 cards whetted the appetite, and now 400 cards have come, and the 7 fleets are gearing up to win more. Inside the box of the Baisong fleet, Lan Tian hurriedly contacted Baisong. Captain, this time the auction house directly issued 400 blueprints of the ironclad ship. At any cost, get as much as possible. Baisong gave the order directly. At this time, Zhang Hao's voice sounded. For the first batch of 40 pieces, the starting price is 50 units. The starting price of a single sheet of metal resources, each increase must not be less than 10 units. Voice just fell. I accepted the unit price of 300 units from the Moon Fleet. The head of the Moon Fleet came up and directly raised the price to the top. Black Dragon Fleet 320. White Pine Fleet 350. There was an uproar in the audience, and the White Pine Fleet finally made a move. Chapter 31. Time flies. As night fell, the first batch of ironclad ship drawings had been auctioned off. After an afternoon of fierce competition, each of the 7 major fleets gained something. Certainly, the one that gained the most was the White Pine Fleet. It is almost crazy bidding at all costs. At one point, the price was raised to a crazy 500 units per piece. Seeing the continuous flow of navigation coins into the account, Chen Yang's mouth was crooked. HMPH, the White Pine Fleet is really crazy in this auction. Of the 400 blueprints, his family won more than 100 of them. Yeah, other fleets basically only have a set of about 40, and it's really abominable to pay a higher price. Here, the representative of the White Pine Fleet snorted coldly, the auction is for resources. If you have the ability, you can also increase the price. Anyway, the one with the highest price wins. It's very fair. The taunting made the other fleet representatives filled with righteous indignation, wishing they could roll up their sleeves and beat this guy up. On the auction stage, Zhang Hao saw that the time was right, so he quickly said, "Representatives, don't worry. If you don't get the blueprints, come back tomorrow. The second and last batch of blueprints will arrive tomorrow. Please seize the opportunity." As soon as this word came out, the representatives became excited. "Director, what do you mean there will be tomorrow?" "That's right, so let me tell you the truth. This time, the Endless Sea sent a total of 1,250 blueprints. Today's 450 blueprints are just an appetizer, and tomorrow's 800 blueprints are the main meal." Seeing the people talking about it, Zhang Hao couldn't help adding another fire. The Sea of Storms is about to open. It is said that there will be a base island refreshed in the Sea of Storms. The base island is also a rare item in the Endless Sea, and it is priceless. Whoever can get one will definitely be able to take the lead in marching into the Endless Sea in the future. The future is limitless. After finishing speaking, Zhang Hao shook his head and left, leaving the representatives looking at each other in blank dismay. There was a moment of silence, and no one knew who suddenly broke the silence, rushing out of the auction house to pass this opportunity back. Soon, the news that there will be another 800 blueprint auction spread throughout the Azure Sea tomorrow. The major forces began to frantically hoard metal resources. The price has been hyped all the way to sky-high prices. The price of metal resources has soared to 5,000, and there is still a tendency to continue to climb. When the price reached 5,500, Chen Yang decisively sold all the metal resources in his hand. Orf was a little puzzled when he heard the news. "Boss, the price has only reached 5,500, and there is still an upward trend. Why sell at this time?" Chen Yang shook his head. "According to my estimation, the ratio of 5800 is already the limit, and it may fall back quickly." "Why? It's very simple. If the price exceeds 5,500, many hoarders can't help but sell their resources. When a large amount of metal resources flood into the market, the price will plummet instantly." Chen Yang specially notified Zhang Hao to sell this batch of metal resources to the White Pine Fleet. When news of the sale of more than 200,000 units of metal resources reached the White Pine Fleet. Sure enough, the White Pine Fleet won all these metal resources at any cost. Just 3 minutes, Chen Yang's account has an extra 1.1 billion navigation coins. Just when other newcomers were still struggling to mine and cut trees on the resource island, Chen Yang has already made a lot of money by relying on the resources behind the scenes to hype. Zhang Hao is also making a lot of money. After all, he has a third share of the account. "Boss Chen Yang, why don't we buy some more resources for hype? He couldn't help but send a message. Just stop, this price is already the peak, next, the price will drop. Drop, obviously, the price increase is so fierce. Voice just fell. Market prices began to change rapidly. Zhang Hao's eyes widened, looking at the sudden influx of a large amount of metal resources. In just half an hour, more than 500,000 units of metal resources flooded into the market. In an instant the situation was reversed. The price, which has been soaring all the way, began to fall crazily with the entry of large resources. From the peak ratio of 5800 after Chen Yang dumped 200,000 units of metal resources, it quickly dropped to 3,000 within 2 hours. With the influx of the second batch of 300,000 units of metal, the price fell below 3,000 and finally stopped around 2,500. Such a magical reversal made Zhang Hao's scalp tingle. He squeezed the corner of his clothes tightly and wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. Fortunately, I didn't get too hot-headed just now, so I took the opportunity to hype it up. Otherwise, you will really fall into it and cannot extricate yourself. He is full of admiration for Chen Yang's keen perception. Brother Chen Yang, how do you know that the price will plummet? Where do these massive metal resources come from? Chen Yang chuckled. You must know that the 7th Fleet has been entrenched in the blue waters for decades, and who doesn't have any inventory at home? The price is so high, and the supply is in short supply. Everyone wants to take the opportunity to make a fortune. What's more, there are various large fleets and voyagers with a lot of resources. The metal resources in their hands add up to a lot. Now sell them at a high price, and wait for a large amount of metal resources to flow into the market, and then buy them at a low price, making a lot of money during the period. When he said this, Zhang Hao discovered that the metal resources in the market had exceeded 1 million units. From the previous shortage of supply, it began to become an oversupply. Except for Chen Yang, the behind-the-scenes operator, who ate the first wave of crabs, the others got nothing but leftovers. As for the White Pine Fleet, the warehouse curry is full of high-priced metal resources, and it is impossible to sell them. Can only knock down teeth and swallow blood. Ding, 20 V-type destroyers have been built, do you want to call? At the moment when Chen Yang was counting the money happily, the system sounded a wonderful reminder. Call, voice down. 20 blue lights flickered on the dark sea ahead, and with the sound of rumbling into the sea, 20 V-type destroyers appeared neatly in front of him. Not only that, every V-type destroyer is stacked with black mines. Set off. With a big wave of Chen Yang's hand, he wanted to seal off the entire Qingshui Island in the dark. And at this time, Qingshui Island is also very busy. Today, I just bought more than 100 blueprints from the auction house. It was sent to Qingshui Island base for construction as soon as possible. The advantage of the blueprint is that you can rub the battleship directly by hand. If it is used in conjunction with the dock, it can reduce a lot of resource consumption. The White Pine Fleet has a large family and a large number of docks. More than 100 warships can save at least 1/3 of the metal resource consumption. In the second U-boat, Chen Yang observes Qingshui Island through a periscope. Qingshui Island deserves to be the core base of the Baisong Fleet. Tens of thousands of first-class and second-class sailing warships are responsible for protecting Qingshui Island. With more than 100 ironclad ships being manufactured, the power of Qingshui Island reached a peak. 200,000 mines don't seem enough. If so, add 200,000, no, 300,000. Chen Yang will trap Qingshui Island with 500,000 mines. Now that I am rich and powerful, it is no problem to rebuild 300,000 small mines. Chen Yang suddenly regretted, why not build more destroyers? 20 ships may not be enough to lay mines. Fortunately, the high speed close to 41 knots allowed the destroyers to make up for the lack of numbers. Carrying out a large area of net-type mining, with the help of night cover, coupled with the thick fog rising from the sea at night, Qingshui Island could not be found at all. The mine layout deliberately leaves the channel area to prevent early detection. Until the sun rose, the sea surface was still sparkling, but at a depth of about 4 to 5 meters, it was covered with densely packed mines. The worst warships on Qingshui Island have a draft of more than 5 meters, and the water level of the mine suspension is just stuck in an unavoidable position. As long as a wooden sailboat hits a mine, there is basically no hope of surviving. Finally, Just in case, Chen Yong placed an order for 10 Titan-class battleships to the system. And the direction of Palm Island. The auction house for the second day has just started. After a night of preparations, the major fleets were gearing up and came with preparations. In the middle of the night last night, the price of metal resources completely collapsed, falling to 2,000 ratio. Large households repurchased a lot of metal resources, which stabilized prices. Otherwise, the price of metal resources is estimated to fall back to the level of 2 days ago. The competition in the first auction was extremely fierce. Like yesterday, 40 drawings are bundled for auction. Whether it is quantity or price, they are all stuck in the psychological position of all forces. It is also easier to bid high prices. Compared with yesterday, the unit price of 500 is already sky high. After a night of tossing, these fleets have hoarded a large amount of metal resources. Naturally, he was not stingy with the auction price, soaring all the way. I offer 680. Only 680. My Black Dragon fleet is 750. Black Dragon fleet, are you dogs? It should be called Black Dog fleet. Our Redbeard fleet is 800. A group of red-bearded savages, just so imposing. Black Dragon fleet 850. 1,000. At this time, a thick voice came from the private room on the second floor. Lan Yun of the White Pine fleet slowly raised the sign in his hand. The representatives of the fleet were in an uproar. 1,000. This White Pine fleet is crazy. Everyone stopped. The unit price was 1,000, and a group was 40,000 units of metal resources. This is the first batch, and most fleets are not in a hurry, too lazy to fight with the mad dog like White Pine fleet. The first order was directly won by the White Pine fleet. The second batch of battles began, and the fighting was still fierce. The unit price of the White Pine fleet went soaring to 1,200, making a group of people's teeth itch. Don't be angry, don't be angry, the White Pine fleet can't buy all the blueprints, can it? Hold on. Many representatives who were ready to sell stopped the urge to follow the price. But next, for the third order and the fourth order, the White Pine fleet still implemented the high price strategy. At the fifth order, the other fleets couldn't bear it anymore and directly crushed the White Pine fleet with a unit price of 1,500. For the next 7 or 8 orders, the White Pine fleet did not intervene, and continued to quote high prices for the 10th order. In the end, we fought to reach a unit price of 2,000. The other fleets are brash, but not stupid. An ironclad ship can displace no more than 7,000 tons, and the unit price of 2,000 per blueprint is already more than double the resource consumption of an ironclad ship. It's really not worth it. This order is taken by our New Century Grand Fleet Group, and the unit price is 2,300. The sudden appearance of a dark horse caused an uproar among the crowd, and the entire auction house was bewildered. This is 3 times the price of ironclad ship resources. But this New Century convoy was not stingy at all, and directly won 2 orders at a price of 2,300, and got 80 blueprints. Zhang Hao looked at the frantically biting fleets, and his heart was already full of joy. As the only insider who knew the inside story, Zhang Hao roared in his heart. Add it, the more I add, the more I earn. The performance of the auction house this time is enough for me to be promoted, maybe I will be transferred back to the Endless Sea one day. While the auction house was frantically fighting, Chen Yang's battle plan had already started. OLF, get ready to start. Just when the auction house continued to spread the news that a certain fleet had won another batch of blueprints for ironclad ships, a new piece of news began to stir in the Blue Sea. Someone attacked White Pine Island. The news resounded across the vast Blue Sea. You must know that the White Pine fleet is the second largest fleet in the Azure Sea region. In terms of comprehensive strength, it is not much worse than the first. Compared with the number 1 Azure fleet, the biggest weakness of the White Pine fleet is that it has fewer armored ships. However, there are more than 60 ironclad ships. Compared to the 100 or so ships of the Blue Fleet, they are indeed quite weak. What's more, in order to sink the rookie Chen Yong, he also lost more than a dozen ironclad ships, and his momentum was even weaker. But just yesterday, the White Pine fleet seized the opportunity and bought more than 100 blueprints against the trend, and today they even won 120 blueprints. A total of 200 ironclad ships is enough to make the White Pine fleet the most powerful fleet in the Blue Sea. And it was at such a tense juncture that news of Baisong Island being attacked came out. Yaosho, for revenge, Chen Yang's subordinates sailed directly into Baisong Island to fight to the death with the Baisong fleet. Ha ha ha, I'm really laughing to death. The White Pine Fleet has tens of thousands of high-end sailing warships, and there are nearly 500 ships of the super flagship class. Now there are 200 new ironclad ships. Where did the little fleas come from on the other side? Above, don't look down on the Avengers. This guy has two 20,000-ton terrifying giant ships, both in terms of firepower and speed, far surpassing the ironclad ships. 20,000-ton giant ship. What ship is so scary? Under. Newcomers from Blue Star began to join the channel. White Pine Fleet just wash their necks and wait for death. Is the Dreadnought Battleship something you backward warships can touch? The despicable and shameless White Pine Fleet, if you can't beat Chen Yang, you will launch a sneak attack. One day, you will pay the price. The Voyagers of Blue Star are preparing to gather, and we are not easy to bully. The Blue Star rookie was filled with righteous indignation and scolded the White Pine Fleet. Soon, the jeers grew louder. Ha ha ha, a group of newcomers are talking big, but it's just two giant ships, how many shells and coal can they have? When the shells run out, they will die. Stupid rookie, ignorant of the heights of the heavens and the earth, trying to challenge the majesty of the White Pine Fleet, looking for death. At this time, White Pine Island front, 2 to 20,000. Two Dreadnought-class battleships faced off against 20,000 sailing warships. 30% of them are first-class warships, and 70% are second-class warships. There are even dozens of ironclad ships hidden in it. Although the sail warship can't pose too much threat to the Dreadnought, the White Pine Fleet is not at all cowardly when it takes the initiative to die and consumes the Dreadnought's shells. Orf commanded the Dreadnought and the Titan, one left and one right, taking care of each other, relying on high-speed maneuverability to find a breakthrough. And the White Pine Fleet also acted very calmly, not giving a chance at all. More than 20,000 sailing warships surrounded the entire White Pine Island in a circle. Resist the two warships beyond the limit range of 17 kilometers. If Orf dared to plunge in, tens of thousands of small boats would swarm up behind them, killing these two powerful dreadnoughts in the same way that ants killed elephants. This is also what Orf is afraid of, so he always stays out of the circle. From time to time, use secondary guns to attack ships that are approaching, sending them to the bottom of the sea. Dreadnoughts have limited shells, so they dare not expend them wantonly. However, after circling White Pine Island twice, the two dreadnoughts suddenly launched a charge with full firepower, tearing a gap and rushing in, as if they were going to die with the White Pine Fleet. Defend, defend, shrink the defensive circle, and other ships will go up to me. Boom boom boom. For the first time in decades, shells fell on White Pine Island. A violent explosion destroyed two docks. A few more shells landed near the ornate castle in the center of the island. The guards on the frightened island panicked. It's not good, Captain, the enemy is attacking, the enemy is attacking. As soon as the door was opened, the panicked guard was kicked to the ground by Baisong, who rushed out of the door. What are you panicking about? The eagle's sharp eyes shot at it. The guard trembled in fright, and hurriedly knelt down and begged for mercy. Captain Baisong, the enemy is attacking. Baisong raised the binoculars in his hand, and the two dreadnoughts were struggling to charge. Boom 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 boom. Another 4 bursts of 305mm shells fell near the castle over a distance of 17 kilometers. The high explosive bomb set off a pillar of fire more than 10 meters away, and the shock wave raised dust all over the sky, making Baisong's face dark. 20 years. No one has ever dared to attack him on Baisong Island, but today, his castle has all been attacked. Boom. The explosion tore apart the steeple of the castle overhead, and the bricks and stones were shattered. The scared guards hurriedly pulled the White Pine away. Captain, hurry up and hide. Baisong let out a low growl. Baisong, has been sailing in the Blue Sea for 20 years, but I don't know what retreat is. Everyone boards the ship with me. Saying that, he shook off the surrounding guards. Let Shui Island immediately set sail for the ironclad ship that has just left the factory, and return to aid Baisong Island. I want these two ships to come and go. Baisong bared his teeth and was furious. Where had he ever been bullied like this? Can only be beaten passively. At this time, Orf observed the changes in the White Pine Fleet and knew that the other side was about to launch a counterattack attempt. Immediately command the 2 battleships to retreat, and rush out of the encirclement before the slow-sailing warships encircle. At this time, Clearwater Island, U-boat, Chen Yong received a message from Orf. Quickly raise the periscope to observe the situation of Shui Island. Rumbling black smoke rose, and more than 100 ironclad ships ignited their boilers and began to leave the port. Thousands of sailing warships set sail against the wind, most likely planning to go to support Baisong Island. Orf fought well. He forced the White Pine Fleet to mobilize the defense fleet of Shui Island so quickly. Chen Yong radio began to contact the destroyer fleet and launched an attack. Although the V-type destroyer is small, it is also full of martial arts. The 102mm rapid-fire gun and 3 533mm torpedo launchers are not in vain. On Shui Island, the mighty sailing warships began to leave the port and gather towards Baisong Island. However, at this moment, the sailing battleship at the forefront slammed into something. The sailors looked down, and a black 100-kilogram mine whirled around in a circle, just touching the pressure-sensitive contact on the mine. Boom! The explosion exploded at the waterline of the sailing warship. A charge of 100 kilograms easily tore through the wooden bottom of the sailing warship, and the keel broke instantly. Creak creak, the hull began to twist and deform, and a large amount of seawater poured into the big hole. This 3,500-ton first-class sail battleship began to sink into the sea with a gurgle. Enemy attack! A cry of surprise resounded through the sky. Immediately after, harsh sirens sounded throughout Shui Island. Distance: 20 Type 5 destroyers lined up in a row. Elevation angle 15 degrees, southeast 26 degrees, triple torpedo installation, launch. On the deck of the destroyer, the metal slides pushed the huge torpedo into the sea. After the torpedo, the propeller spun wildly, reaching the highest speed at the moment of entering the water, and rushed towards the ironclad ship in the direction of Shui Island at a speed of more than 40 knots. 20 V-type destroyers fired a salvo of torpedoes, resulting in 60 torpedoes. Like a sharp arrow off the string, it rushes towards the target without hesitation. Torpedo, it's a torpedo, dodge. Someone recognized this dangerous and terrifying underwater weapon, which only a few advanced ironclad ships are qualified to equip. One shot can make a giant ship of 10,000 tons unable to eat. It was the first time for many people to see V-type destroyers. Although these small steel ships of more than 1,000 tons do not seem to be very deterrent. But when the 102mm rapid-fire guns on the battleship began to show their power, the people of the White Pine Fleet saw what a modern battleship is. Boom boom boom. 60 torpedoes had a final hit rate of 30%. Although only 20 hits, they still took away 10 ironclad ships from the opponent. The wounded ironclad began to retreat, all the way to the back of the sailing warships. Counterattack, counterattack, all warships charge up. Facing these small tonnage battleships, Commander Shui Island did not panic. After all, a sailing warship was much bigger than it. Facing the oncoming sail warships, Chen Yong did not hesitate at all, and commanded the warships to charge forward. The 102mm naval guns may not be destructive enough against ironclad ships, but against these sailing warships, it is simply chopping melons and vegetables. The maximum effective range of more than 11 kilometers, plus the rate of fire every 3 seconds. 20 V-type destroyers can also absolutely crush these sailing warships. Attack, attack. The ironclad ship with a long enough range in the rear began to attack, and the water column splashed and landed in the water in front of the destroyer. After a few minutes of shelling, the torpedoes were loaded again, and after firing another round of torpedoes, Chen Yong decisively commanded the destroyers to retreat. The super high speed of 40 knots allowed the destroyer to quickly leave the battlefield, and dropped a large number of mines by the way, blocking the only channel. Few minutes. Boom boom boom. Explosions continued to sound. 60 torpedoes were harvested, quite a lot, and many warships were sunk. It's just that they are basically sailing warships, stepping forward to carry the knife and sacrifice for the ironclad ship behind them. But then, the unbelievable explosion sounded again. Many warships attacking outward hit mines and exploded one after another. Finally, the White Pine Fleet could clearly see the black torpedoes floating in a water depth of 4 to 5 meters. Like iron sea urchins with strange shapes. It explodes on touch. If one direction does not work, break out from other directions. But the commander of the White Pine Fleet never expected that Chen Yang would throw 500,000 mines into this sea area to fill it up. It is densely packed, like an iron barrel, completely surrounding the entire Shui Island. Explosions continued to sound, and the fleet commander finally understood. Shui Island was surrounded by those black water bombs in all directions. Hurry up and contact the fleet headquarters far away on White Pine Island. What? Attacked on Shui Island? Surrounded by water bombs. Who attacked Shui Island? I don't know. They are all small steel ships of more than 1,000 tons, and they are extremely fast. Steel ship. The headquarters of Baisong Island was stunned. Who was attacking Shui Island at this time? Quickly report the situation to Captain Baisong. Shui Island was attacked. Who did it? As soon as Baisong boarded the battleship, the bad news came that his most important shipbuilding base was attacked. Captain, maybe other fleets took advantage of Chen Yang's men to take revenge and took the opportunity to attack our Shui Island. The White Pine slapped the ship's side. Give me a full frequency announcement, and I want to see which blind person is going to be an enemy of my White Pine Fleet. Yes, 5 minutes. After the White Pine Fleet released the all-channel announcement, the slightly quiet world channel became boiling again. White Pine Fleet Shui Island was attacked. Warn other fleets not to play with fire and set themselves on fire. Clearwater Island. Isn't it the core shipbuilding base of the White Pine Fleet? It is said that a large amount of resources are still stored. How dare someone attack Shui Island? Do you think it's the group of Blue Star rookies? Ha ha ha, just rely on them. Except for one Chen Yang who has some strength, the others are not worth mentioning. What's more, Chen Yang has been sunk. It must be that other fleets want to take the opportunity to weaken the strength of the White Pine Fleet. Aren't they afraid of revenge from the White Pine Fleet? HMPH, the strong is king in the endless sea, weakening the enemy and strengthening oneself as an eternal melody. Tisk tisk tisk, it's a pity that the newcomer Chen Yang, whoever is wrong, has to mess with the White Pine Fleet. Yeah, just as the World Channel was discussing a lot. The other major fleets also immediately issued announcements to clarify themselves. Apparently no one wanted to go to war with the crazy White Pine Fleet right now. The fighting in the auction house was even more fierce. Many fleets no longer kept their hands, and directly raised the price to the limit with the intention of buying a set if they could. The last set of drawings was bought by the White Pine Fleet at a sky-high price. However, the next second, Captain Baisong's angry roar came from Baisong Island. Child Chen Yang, you dare to attack my Shui Island, you are courting death. People are wondering what happened. A name that I haven't seen for a long time pops up in front of my eyes. The tone is even more arrogant. White Pine Dog Thief, I didn't expect it. Lao Su Hu Hansen is back again. I didn't kill me in the sneak attack last time, so I will take your Shui Island as interest first. Chen Yang's words are a full frequency announcement, which can be seen by everyone, including the White Pine Fleet. For a while, all the Voyagers were in an uproar. Many people saw his battleship being sunk with their own eyes. How could he still be alive? The Blue Star newcomers immediately cheered. Ha ha ha, I knew Chen Yang is a lucky man. Big brother Chen Yang is mighty. Boss Chen Yang, it's great that you are alive. Do you still accept the younger brother? Face provocation. Baisong blew his beard and stared. He finally understood why Baisong Island and Shui Island were attacked at the same time. It turned out that this guy wasn't dead at all, and after he cheated, he started to make arrangements. Feint attack on Baisong Island to attract attention, and then take the opportunity to sneak attack on Shui Island. HMPH, you alone dare to threaten my White Pine Fleet. I would like to see how you deal with my tens of thousands of warships on Shui Island. Chen Yang let out a cold war and replied directly. It's just 10,000 ships of rotten wood, which can be destroyed with a flick of a finger. You dare. Why don't you dare? You White Pine Fleet is the first day. Don't blame me. Chen Yang is the 15th. Wash your neck and wait at home for me to pick up your dog's head. Finished. Chen Yang waved his right hand. Directly summon the 10 Titan-class battleships that have just been built. Rumbling. The moment 10 giant steel ships appeared on the horizon, billowing thick smoke seemed to cover the sky. What is that? Everyone in the Shui Island fleet is in danger. When have they seen such a terrifying and huge ship? The ferocious gun barrel exuded a terrifying murderous aura in the sun, rolling towards Shui Island. Scatter, all fleets scatter. The commander of the Shimizu Island fleet roared. Next second, the 100,305 mm cannons on the 10 battleships began to spray anger. Thick smoke was billowing, piercing gunfire across the blue sea, and dense shells scattered among the chaotic group of sailing warships. The Shimizu Island fleet, which was not ready for battle from the very beginning, had no time to deploy. In addition, the entire sea area near Shui Island was blocked by dense sea mines. Now tens of thousands of sailing warships and hundreds of ironclad warships are all crowded in the waters around the small island. Battleships don't need to aim at all, they just need to fire indiscriminately to sink these sailing warships that cannot be deployed. Each Titan-class battleship also has 20,101 mm secondary guns. 10 giant ships lined up, blocking the door of the house under the indiscriminate bombardment, and a large number of warships sank every minute. The flames set off by the burning ignited the sea. Countless galleons were ignited in the chaos. In order to escape the artillery fire, many ships desperately wanted to rush out. As a result, he encountered densely packed mines in the sea. There are also 20 destroyers with a speed of up to 41 knots wandering around. All ships that are lucky enough to break out of the minefield will be sunk by these destroyers. Shui Island's tens of thousands of fleets were sunk in batches by Chen Yang's 30 warships. In just half an hour, Shui Island became a sea purgatory. The constant tearing of sunken warships hinders other warships trying to rush out. Vicious circle. In just half an hour, more than one-third of the warships sank in the water. The damaged ship rushed into the minefield in a panic and was blown to pieces. Chen Yang, you are so brave, the White Pine Fleet is with you forever. The White Pine Fleet roared. The sinking warships wiped out Shui Island's decades of accumulation. Chen Yang lashed back without fear. Bai Song, if I knew today, why bother? I tell you, today is just the beginning. Before long, I will make you kneel in front of me and call you Grandpa. Chen Yang waved his hand. Hit me hard, shoot out all the shells. The rumbling of the cannon blasted the defenders of Shui Island to pieces. This turning point was so great that it shocked the entire Azure Sea territory. The newcomer Chen Yang did not die. Not only did he not die, but he also entered Shui Island. No one knows the current situation of Shui Island, but from the hysterical madness and anger of the White Pine Fleet, it can be seen that Shui Island is facing unprecedented difficulties. Many people feel that the sky has changed. Once upon a time, the behemoth that dominates a corner of the blue sea is unexpectedly forced to such an extent by a newcomer. The return of Chen Yang seems to be telling the aloof White Pine Fleet, 3 days east of the river, 3 days of the west of the river, don't bully the young and poor. He came back with 500,000 mines, 10 battleships and 20 destroyers across the era. He vowed to completely erase the most important shipbuilding base of the White Pine Fleet from the map. Boom boom boom. The sound of explosions continued. An hour passed. 2/3 of the Shimizu Island warships sank into the sea. Only some Shufeng battleships were left lingering. The more than 100 iron-clad warships built by the White Pine Fleet at a huge cost were sunk in the port before they could get out of Shui Island. Some armored ships tried to forcefully tear an escape hole in the mine-ridden sea area by sacrificing sailing warships. After paying a painful price, he managed to tear open a hole, but was blocked by a high-speed destroyer at the exit and 8 torpedoes. In this battle, Chen Yang was rich and powerful, and he was not stingy with supplies. The whole ship's shells were supplied twice, consuming tens of thousands of units of various resources. At any cost, completely send the Shui Island fleet into the sea. Take another look at the task just released by the system. Plunderers of the Endless Sea successfully destroyed the Shui Island fleet and plundered supplies from Shui Island. Mission reward. The Battleship Illustrated book is open. 4 technology points, 1 random special technology. 70% of the progress has been completed. Chen Yang quickly commanded the battleship to speed up the attack. Speed up and let the remaining warships go into the sea to feed the fish. At the same time, Chen Yang aimed at the shipyard on Shui Island and began concentrated bombing. Hundreds of docks collapsed under the bombardment of heavy artillery, and the defenders of Shui Island collapsed completely. Many people abandoned the boat to escape and swam back to Shui Island. Immediately after, behind them, the sailing battleship turned into a ball of burning fireballs under the artillery fire, and the heat wave swept across the sea. The gunpowder detonation threw a mass of burning barrels and debris in all directions. The other sailing warships that had no time to evade suffered disaster one after another. The fire spread rapidly, igniting all the remaining ships. Chen Yong raised his hand. Battleships and destroyers cease bombardment. He stands on the bow. Burning flames are reflected in the deep pupils. The flames shot up into the sky, and the slender shadow was drawn very long on the deck. With the last sailing warship sinking under the weight of the crumbling mast collapsed, there was not a single warship left in the sea off the vast Shui Island. Thousands of warships were wiped out, and the Shui Island fleet was destroyed. Ready to land on the island, Chen Yong gave an order. The fleet approached the bay, and the artillery fire began to extend deep into the island. Whoever does not surrender will die. Chen Yang's will resounded throughout Shui Island. Even though these people's hearts are filled with endless anger, there is no scum left that has been crushed by the fear of death. They remembered the arrogance of the mighty White Pine fleet sweeping across this sea area in the past few years. The way of heaven is reincarnation, who will the heaven spare? Having just experienced a hellish crushing battle, their will to fight was completely broken. When the sailors with rifles began to land on Shui Island, the surviving defenders of Shui Island surrendered one after another. Coastline. A hideous giant ship is raising its black muzzle to aim at them. Once there is any change, the artillery fire all over the sky will let them know what the real hell is. That's it. When the leading party took Chen Yong to push away the luxurious material warehouse of Shui Island, Chen Yong couldn't help but burst out laughing. Warehouse Curry is full of various resources piled up like a mountain. And there are 10 such warehouses. When launching the attack, Chen Yong told them to avoid these material warehouses. Sure enough, the warehouses did not disappoint him. All the metal resources that Chen Yong sold at a high price before are here. Not only that, but also all kinds of resources that the White Pine fleet bought back regardless of the price. It's all cheap now, Chen Yong. It is roughly estimated that the metal resources here are more than 400,000 units, and the wood resources are even more, at least 600,000 units. 200,000 units of grain, plus various other materials. The storage capacity of the 10 large warehouses exceeds 2 million units. It's developed. Chen Yang's move almost wiped out the wealth of the White Pine fleet for 20 years. Such a huge amount of resources would take newcomers to collect. Congratulations, Voyager, you have attacked the resource island of the White Pine fleet, and you can plunder it for resources. The plundering rate is 90%. At this time, the voice of the administrator of the Endless Sea, whom he had not seen for a long time, sounded. Chen Yong curled his lips. It's only 90%. That means there's still 10% to pay taxes. Just as he was lamenting that the Endless Sea was too dark, another reminder sounded. Congratulations to the navigator, the one-time plundering resource has reached the standard, and you have obtained the Junior Nautical Plunderer Badge. Marauder Badge, Junior Predator Badge, a special badge that can only be obtained if one-time plundered resources reach 1 million units. Special attributes. Acquisition resource speed increased by 10%. 10% of the amount of resources obtained. Personal all attributes plus 10. Enable the primary authority of the Predator Trading Network. Chen Yong looked at the Predator's special ability, and he could understand the speed and quantity of resource acquisition. But what do the last two attributes mean? When the gleaming copper badge fell from the sky, it slowly fell into his hand. It is heavy to start with, at least 100 grams. The badge depicts a sailing battleship inlaid with crossed blades on the blue sea. Made of brass, it has a simple color and looks quite old. There are pins that can be hung on the chest. Chen Yong wears the badge as a matter of course. Next second, he felt a special force rising from his body. With a punch, there was a bang-bang sound. Struggle to provoke, jump 5 meters high. Try to run, at least 10 times faster than the average person. Is this the effect of adding 10 to all attributes? Literally, the overall physical fitness is strengthened by 10 times. This is too strong. Chen Yong escaped from the pirate captain's firecracker and aimed at the small fragment 50 meters away. Instantly pull the trigger. Boom. Flames flew out, and lead bullets accurately hit glass shards no bigger than flies. It is really a comprehensive enhancement, not only the increase in strength and speed, but also the accuracy and vision, all of which have been strengthened by 10 times. Take another look at the entry notes at the bottom. Predator badge upgrade needs experience 10 million. In other words, the next level of badge upgrade requires at least 10 million units of resources to be plundered at one time. Chen Yang's eyes were burning. The primary copper badge is so strong, what about the intermediate badge? What about premium badges? Chen Yang couldn't imagine. Does such a powerful predator badge prove that the Endless Sea encourages plundering? No, not necessarily. Maybe there are collecting badges, planting badges and so on. However, plundering is indeed the simplest and crudest way of primitive accumulation. At last, Chen Yang focused on the last attribute. Marauders Trading Network Access. Is there any difference between this Predator Trading Network and the Endless Sea Merchant Alliance? When Chen Yang pressed the badge with one hand, he silently said the opening of the Predator Trading Network. Next second, a strange voice sounded. Hello newcomer, welcome to the Predator Trading Network. Congratulations on obtaining the Predator Network trading permission. Please follow the guidelines to complete the binding and registration of personal information. The voice of the administrator of the Endless Sea is an emotionless mechanical voice like the system, and the voice of the Business Alliance is also more procedural. But the voice of the Predator Trading Network is a sweet girlish voice, lively and playful. Information binding and registration are very simple. Fill in the information, enter fingerprints and iris verification. It is hard to imagine who established this trading network, and could verify him in such a detailed way across time and space. Please enter your code name. Code name. Let me think about it. Let's call it Windtalker. The code name Windtalker is successfully bound. Congratulations on becoming a new member of the Predator Trading Network, and you can freely use the Predator Trading Network. Wait, I want to ask, what is the difference between the various permissions? Trading Network Tips. Members with different permissions can enter trading rooms and areas with different permission restrictions, and the deducted tax rates are also different. The higher the permission, the more commodities that can be browsed and traded, and the higher the value. Chen Yang probably understands the role of authority. Just like buying things, the higher the authority, the more things you can buy. Chen Yang casually browsed the trading network. There are many sections. Resources, weapons, ships, technology. Just about anything you can think of is sold here. Chen Yang even discovered that there are also various technical talents and slaves sold. Sigh, it really deserves to be the Predator Trading Network. Chen Yang clicks on the Genichi column, and you can see a list of the latest released resource products. Wood, metal, food. You name it. Metal resources only need 1500 nautical coins unit. There are also some mysterious special metal resources, followed by a zero directly. 15,000 nautical coins unit. Chen Yang said that he couldn't afford it. After browsing, the bulk commodities here are indeed not expensive, and they are all at normal prices, not much different from the Blue Sea area. Click on the weapon bar. Here refers to all kinds of Voyager special weapons, basically all have special attributes. Captain Vanessa's necklace. Strength attribute +1. Swimming proficiency. Acquiring resources is increased by 10%. Chen Yang wanted to get this piece of equipment, but after looking at the price. 90 million navigation coins. I'll go, why not grab it? Just adding one attribute to the strength attribute costs 90 million nautical coins. It can be seen that this kind of special equipment with added attributes is a precious thing in the entire Endless Sea. Chen Yang evaluated the value of his own captain's gun. It's worth 20 million yuan, which is not a bad price. Chen Yang's sliding interface. Slightly better equipment is worth more than 100 million, many of which are at the billion level, with a maximum of 9.9 billion. This is only a product that can be seen by the primary authority. It's hard to imagine how tyrannical mid-level authority products will be. Chen Yang said that he couldn't afford it. Although I have a little money in my hands now, the Predator Trading Network still makes me feel that I can't hold it. I feel like I'm just poor. Captain, Baisong Island has gone crazy. More than 20,000 warships are heading towards Qing Shui Island. You leave quickly. I can't stop them. The shell consumption is less than 1/3. Just as Chen Yang was leading the sailors to search for various resources in Qingshui Island, Orf's message came. Don't stop me, the battle on my side is over and I'm collecting resources. You are ready to retreat and meet at Palm Island. Opposite, Orf made a voice of surprise, as the Qingshui Island fleet destroyed. Of course, it's nothing more than a group of chickens and dogs. You should retreat quickly, and don't be bitten by the dogs of the White Pine Fleet. Yes, Orf yelled excitedly. Chen Yang came back to his senses and looked at Qingshui Island, which he had dug 3 feet into the ground. With a wave of his right hand, take away everything I can, and never leave a single thread for this old dog, Bai Song. The sailors were mighty, scraping the ground, taking all they could take away. Metal buildings, break it down and take it away. Qingshui Island green tree, chop it up and take it away. Island reservoir, pack it all up and go. And the slaves plundered by the Qingshui fleet, let it all go. Chen Yang didn't want to, and didn't bother to do such a thing as buying and selling slaves. The surrenderers of the Qingshui fleet who were bound together were stunned by Chen Yang's land-scraping plunder, and were speechless for a long time. Far away, Chen Yang didn't retreat leisurely until the destroyer sent out the latest news about the White Pine Fleet. Soon, some voyagers who watched the excitement approached Qingshui Island, wanting to know what happened to Qingshui Island that had not been heard for several hours. When the rumbling black smoke accompanied Chen Yang's fleet away, the huge Qingshui Island turned into a bare gray island. The buildings on the island can be demolished as long as they can be demolished, and all the buildings that cannot be demolished are destroyed with naval guns. Not a single tree was left on the mountain, not even a 2-meter-high sapling was spared. Not to mention the sunken ironclad warships that were taken away, all of them became decomposed metal resources. The passage of locusts is probably nothing more than that. A few hours later, when the first ship arrived at Qingshui Island, it was stunned by the devastated scene in front of it. By the way, did we go to the wrong place? He has been to Qingshui Island many times, but this bare island in front of him is really the once prosperous shipbuilding base of the White Pine Fleet. If it weren't for the densely packed ship debris floating on the sea, they would have thought they were in the wrong place. Only one thought echoed in his mind. Qingshui Island was defeated, and the entire Qingshui Island fleet was destroyed. This news swept across the entire blue sea like a Category 12 hurricane. There was an instant uproar on the World Channel. The tens of thousands of warships in the Qingshui Island fleet were all destroyed in less than 3 hours. It's impossible, absolutely impossible. Ha ha ha, White Pine Fleet, you also have today, it's really satisfying. Bai Song is in trouble, all praises. What is the background of the newcomer Chen Yang? So powerful, could it be that none of the huge Qingshui Island fleet escaped? Soon, there is news. We found a large number of floating mines in the waters around Qingshui Island. The entire Qingshui Island was locked up, and the Qingshui Island fleet was blocked at the door and wiped out. As soon as these words came out, World Channel was in an uproar. Immediately after, the roar of the White Pine Fleet was broadcast on the World Channel. Chen Yang, you fool, destroy my Qingshui Island fleet, take away my resources, I will die with you. Chen Yang's teasing response arrived immediately. Old dog Bai Song, don't be so pushy, this time it's just collecting some interest, next time it's you Bai Song Island, come to Palm Island to fight to the death if you have the ability, if you don't, just off and eat shit. Chen Yang's words were vulgar and merciless, but they excited the newcomers of Blue Star. Big brother Chen Yang is mighty and domineering. HMPH, let's see who will dare to bully our Blue Star rookies in the future. Ha ha ha, I'm dying of laughter, the White Pine Fleet, the second in command, is only capable of this. All kinds of taunts sounded, almost exploding Bai Song's lungs. Chen Yang, wait for me, Palm Island, right. I'll let you know what regret is. As soon as the words came out, all the spectators around came. Speaking of which, is this going to war? Tisk tisk tisk, interesting, the White Pine Fleet was forced into this by a newcomer. I was suddenly curious about this Chen Yang. At this time, loyal allies of the White Pine Fleet spoke up. My Lakawa fleet is the most loyal ally of the White Pine Fleet, and the Lakawa fleet will send fleet support to advance and retreat with the White Pine Fleet. People are not surprised. After all, the Lakawa fleet and the White Pine Fleet are allies, so they can't help but worry about Chen Yang's safety. The newcomers also began to calm down, persuading Chen Yang not to be impulsive. At this time, hull number 010 on the deck of the Titan-class battleship. Chen Yang was wearing sunglasses, drinking fruit juice, lying on a sun lounger on the deck with his legs crossed, basking in the sun happily. Occasionally scolded the two fleets on the World Channel, and then went to Palm Island without looking back. As for the ruthless words and a decisive battle with the two fleets, he hadn't had a fever yet, and was so ill. Afraid? Of course not. But when the cannon fires, the gold is 10,000 taels. He has no interest in losing money. Even if the White Pine Fleet sent tens of thousands of pigs, it would take a long time to catch them. Compared with this point of winning or losing, the sea of storms that is about to open is more important. Palm Island. The gunfire of the pirate invasion in the past few days has not gone away. The small boats on the sea are full of poor people salvaging the debris. Many of them are descendants of voyagers. Many people can't buy a boat of their own in their whole life, and become a navigator recognized by the administrator of the endless sea. Seaside. The little girl in old clothes is struggling to salvage the broken pieces of wood bit by bit. These waste wood chips are also one of the sources of life for these bottom dwellers. Dry them and send them to the shipyard, or make some small tools, and you can barely make ends meet. I tidied it up, and then struggled to lift it, using my thin body to carry the heavy boat wood of dozens of kilograms. At this time, two tall teenagers stood in front of her. Little beggar, put down the boat log in your hand and roll away. Do you know that this beach is the territory of our frog gang? Didn't wait for the girl to speak. A big hand pushed her down with all his strength. Clatter. Broken logs were scattered all over the place. Ha ha ha. The two teenagers looked down and laughed loudly. Why don't you hurry up? Be careful, I beat you. Beside. A child jeered. Hey, isn't this our little green lord who is about to make a fortune? Didn't he say that someone big is going to take you away from Palm Island? Where is he? Why didn't I see it? Ha ha, how could someone important take her away from Palm Island? Don't you know who you are? It's so funny. The boy in front of him also laughed. What big man? It's just a newcomer who doesn't know the heights of the world. That guy has been sunk. I saw it with my own eyes. With a bang, the whole ship was blown to pieces. The girl didn't cry and stood up stubbornly. You have no right to insult mister. They are 10,000 times better than you wild dogs. Wild dog, little fool. How dare you call me a wild dog? Hit me and break her leg. The boy next to him picked up a plank and threw it at the little girl with all his might. The frightened girl closed her eyes and lowered her head. However, 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds passed. The pain that should have never arrived. Xiaolu couldn't help opening her eyes and looking up. There was only an ouch, and the two teenagers, one by one, flew into the sea. She raised her head blankly, looking at the familiar smiling face with tears in her eyes. Sorry for the delay, I'm a few days late. My respected little green princess, your fleet is ready, please come home with me. In front of him, Chen Yang was wearing a gorgeous tuxedo, standing straight on the beach, bowed slightly, and stretched out his right hand towards her. Far away, 10 giant steel ships lay across the coastline like giant dragons. 20 destroyers lined up on both sides. Bang bang bang. The naval guns fired in unison, firing gorgeous fireworks shells. A huge sailing ship as white as jade came slowly until it docked on the coastline. A long staircase stretched from the ship to the beach, covered with a red carpet. The scene stunned scavengers on the beach salvaging debris. They stared blankly at the little protagonist. Is she really a princess living on Palm Island? The boys who had mocked her before opened their mouths wide, vowing they would never forget this shocking scene in their lifetime. With the rising sun, the golden sunlight splashes on the messy sandy beach. The little girl couldn't control her emotions anymore, and burst into tears. If you want to ask Chen Yang to engage in such a big ostentation just to take away a little girl whom he met once, is it worth it? For Chen Yang, this is a promise he made, and of course it is worth it. Taking away a little girl and discussing a multi-billion-dollar deal with Zhang Hao, the director of the auction house, are equally important in his opinion. When the mighty fleet circled the Palm Island for half a circle, it finally started to leave slowly. After Orf's 2 battleships joined the fleet, Chen Yang turned around and headed east toward the central storm sea. Don't take another look. You may never come back in the future. Chen Yong rubbed the little girl's head. Xiaolu tried her best to turn her head away. Her tearful eyes showed persistence and stubbornness. Facing the hometown where I have lived for 10 years, it is of course a lie to say that I have no feelings at all. Only, the children of the poor families headed home early, and the same is true for Xiaolu. She has experienced countless disappointments and hopes, and never felt that the world would favor her. So no matter how difficult it is, I will work hard to live. But now, her voice seemed to be heard by the great sea, the god sent to save her. Standing on this giant steel ship that is bigger than a hill, Little Green has never felt that Palm Island is so small and the sea is so vast. Father said, once you have made a choice, don't look back. It's the same with sailing, and it's the same with life. This made Chen Yong laugh. A girl in her teens knows what life is. Do not laugh. She stomped angrily. Chen Yong laughed. Okay, don't laugh, don't laugh. Talking. Chen Yong turned his head and took another look at the Palm Island behind him. This was his first stop in the endless sea, but it definitely wouldn't be the last stop. The future is still far away. Look back. The sea breeze blows ahead, and the dark clouds gather, as if a storm is coming. It is going to rain. Chen Yong muttered to himself. At this time, Orf's sonorous voice sounded from the fleet. The fleet turned 13 degrees to the left, aiming at the Sea of Storms, advancing at full speed. After one day, the mighty White Pine fleet arrives at Shui Island. But he was so shocked by the tragic scene before his eyes that he was blown 3 feet away. Fragments of ships floating continuously for tens of nautical miles on the sea surface prove that a world-shattering battle took place here. But it is by no means a life-and-death sea battle of equal strength, but a desperate battle of being blocked by a group of warships that spanned the ages at the door of the house. Bai Song took off his captain's hat slowly, letting the cold wind blow his messy hair. He suddenly regretted it. Why did he attack Chen Yong, a lunatic? These are 10,000 high-level warships, not 10,000 small sampans. Including more than 100 ironclad ships bought with a lot of money, all fell into the sand here. The fire at sea has been burning for 2 days and 2 nights and has not stopped. The wet and salty sea breeze is mixed with a disgusting burnt smell. It is not an exaggeration to say that this place is a purgatory on earth. He was about to drive an ironclad ship to the island, but was stopped by his subordinates. Captain, don't approach. The surrounding area of Baisong Island is covered by mines. Let the subordinates clean up these mines first. Baisong waved his hand. After coming to the endless sea for more than 20 years, how have you ever suffered such loss and humiliation? Qingshui Island's decades of painstaking efforts were destroyed. A boundless anger surged in his chest, ready to erupt at any time. Boom, boom, boom. Hundreds of warships fired at the same time, using a large number of shells to detonate the mines in the water, abruptly clearing a water area that allows the fleet to pass. In the battle 2 days ago, some people also wanted to use this method to break through, but Chen Yong never gave them such a chance. 1/3 of the fleet was destroyed in just half an hour, and the entire army was wiped out in less than 3 hours. When Bai Song landed on the island, he almost didn't have a heart attack. This Chen Yong didn't even leave him a piece of iron. Take away everything that can be taken away, and destroy everything that cannot be taken away. There really wasn't a stitch or thread left, only the collapsed and cracked masonry buildings remained. And howling all over the place, the surrenderers who finally waited until the large forces came to rescue. A ragged man swooped over, kneeling in front of the White Pine, howling. Captain, Captain, you can count it. Then Chen Yong is a demon crawling out of hell. He trapped us in the harbor with mines, and then dispatched dozens of steel warships to carry out indiscriminate bombing. The fleet couldn't be deployed, and the entire army was wiped out in the end. The firepower of that guy's warship is terrifying. Our ironclad ships can't even pierce their armor. The subordinates are incompetent. They failed to keep the Qingshui Island fleet and Qingshui Island. Bai Song lowered his head, and glanced at the man in front of him, who else is not his most trusted commander of Qingshui Island. He kicked the man over and roared, "My Qingshui Island fleet is gone, why don't you die with it? Come on, exist." A group of sailors with flintlock guns rushed out behind them, full of murderous intent. Drag these surrendered traitors who are greedy for life and fear of death out and face the FA on the spot. No, Captain, you can't kill me, it's because Chen Yang is too powerful, we can't stop him. Can't stop it. Who planted so many mines under your noses? You didn't respond. I think alcohol and pleasure have corrupted your brain. Tell me, is the enemy strong, or are you stupid? With a bang, the man sat down on the ground. Captain, spare my life, I am willing to make up for my mistakes, Captain. Bai Song waved his hand, and these surrenders were dragged away one after another. His sharp eyes glanced around. Everyone remember, my White Pine Fleet does not need losers or surrenders. Accompanied by the sound of gunfire, it seems to represent the end of the era of Shimizu Island. At this time, White Pine has received a message from the Lakawa fleet from Palm Island. Chen Yang ran away. Bai Song clenched his fists tightly, could no longer restrain his anger, and roared to the sky. Chen Yang, Anyang, I'm going to kill you sooner or later. Ha Chu. Above the stormy ocean, Chen Yang sneezed violently. Rubbing his nose, he was puzzled. What the hell, who is scolding me behind my back? Even though the wind is high and the waves are rough, the waves cannot shake the giant ship of 20,000 tons. Orf walked into the command room in an admiral suit. Full of energy. Ha ha ha, needless to say. It must be that unlucky Bai Song. Chen Yang turned around and asked, is the little green girl asleep? Orf nodded with a smile. I'm so tired, I can't wake up from thunder. The old man showed a little nostalgic smile. Old man, I heard that the vortex in the political field made your son and daughter. Orf waved his hand. Don't mention it, it's all over, burning in this vast endless sea, isn't it better than dying alone in a nursing home? Chen Yang knows that Mr. Orf will be strong and upright all his life. Otherwise, he would not have killed his enemies for revenge, regardless of his status. As a result, his career as a general ended early. Chen Yang admired such a man. I think the old dog Bai Song must have died of anger, and Palm Island also rushed to nothing. The corner of Orf's mouth raised a subtle arc. Chen Yang clenched his hands. Next time we meet, I really want to see his angry face. The two looked at each other, and both burst out laughing. Ding! Congratulations to the host, the Battleship illustration book has been opened, please pay attention to check it. Just as Chen Yang's fleet was rushing to the Sea of Storms, the system's melodious notification sounded. After completing the task of plundering Shui Island, it took 3 full days for the new functions of the system to be unlocked slowly. Can't wait to click on the interface. The Battleship illustration function in the most prominent position greets my eyes. Open the picture book function. The development illustration book of warships such as Pine Towers is vividly displayed in front of you. From the lowest tier of sailing battleships, to ironclads, to pre-dreadnoughts, to the dreadnought unlocked by Chen Yang. It presents a layout with large ends and small middle. The birth of modern battleships began with the battleship Dreadnought. The Super Dreadnought, Treaty class, and cutting-edge post-treaty battleships after the Dreadnought class can now be seen in the illustrated book. It's a pity that the Super Dreadnought class battleships are all in gray state, and they are also marked with crosses. The more powerful battleship behind is even more blurred. Apparently, some kind of special condition is required to unlock them. The good news is not without it, at least the other series of battleships alongside the Titan-class battleship are in an unlockable state. In the era of Dreadnought-class battleships, the arms race of various countries has reached a new point. All powerful countries have begun to abandon the old pre-Dreadnought battleships, and have turned to research on the full main gun Dreadnought-class battleship. The era of cannon giant ships officially began. In the following decades, various types of Dreadnought-class battleships were produced in various countries in the arms race. The Neptune and Titan classes of the Empire on which the sun never sets. The Caesar and King classes of Han's Empire. The Delaware and Wyoming classes of Lighthouse Empire. Count of Cavour in Italy, etc. The countries have pushed the battleship to a new pinnacle. The thick armor and large caliber cannon have written a strong and colorful stroke in the history of battleships. At this time, all Dreadnought-class battleships from various countries in the Chen Yang illustrated book are unlockable. Chen Yang thought for a moment, and with 4 technology points in his hand, 2 points could unlock a Dreadnought-class battleship. After a horizontal comparison, the King-class battleship of the Han's Empire and the Wyoming-class battleship of the Lighthouse Empire were selected. These two battleships are among the most powerful Dreadnought-class battleships before the advent of the Super Dreadnought era. Compared with the Neptune and Titan, the pinnacle works of the Dreadnought class of the old Empire, it is even worse. Do you want to unlock the King-class battleship? Yes. Do you want to unlock the Wyoming-class battleship? Yes. Next second, the gray icons have turned into colors, indicating that these two types of battleships are in a manufacturable state. Wyoming-class battleship, Lighthouse Empire's 1908 shipbuilding program. Started on February 9, 1910, launched on May 25, 1911. Displacement, 26,000 tons. Full load displacement, 27,240 tons. Length, 171.29 meters. Width, 28.4 meters. Draft, 8.4 meters. Full load. Power, 12 steam boilers. Power, 28,000 horsepower. Speed, 20.5 knots. Endurance, 6,860 nautical miles at 10 knots. Armament, 6,305 mm 45 caliber twin-mounted guns. 21,127 mm single guns. Armor, 279 mm on sides, 70 mm on deck. 304 mm in front of the turret, 304 mm in the conning tower. Crew, 1110 people. Koenig-class battleship, shipbuilding program of the Hans Empire in 1912. Construction started in 1912, launched on March 1, 1913. Displacement, 25,796 tons. Full load displacement, 29,200 tons. Length, 175.4 meters. Width, 29.5 meters. Draft, 9.1 meters. Full load. Power, 12 coal-fired boilers, 3 oil-fired boilers, 3 steam turbines. Power, 43,300 horsepower. Speed, 21 knots. Endurance, 8,000 nautical miles at 12 knots. Armament, 5,305 mm 50 caliber twin guns. 14 single 150 mm 45 caliber guns. 1088 mm anti-aircraft guns. 500 mm underwater torpedo launcher 5 doors. Armor, 350 mm on sides, 90 mm on deck. 300 mm in front of the turret, 350 mm in the conning tower. Crew, 1136 people. Note, 305 mm 50 times the main gun, the elevation angle is 16 degrees, and the maximum range is 20,400 meters. 150 mm 45 caliber secondary gun, range, 13,500 meters. The Wyoming-class battleship of the Lighthouse Kingdom is a well-regulated Dreadnought-class battleship, and may be a little weak in the coming Super Dreadnought era. However, it is fully functional and has no obvious shortcomings. It can even be transformed into a training ship in the later stage. This is the main reason why Chen Yong chose Wyoming. As for the King class of the Hans Kingdom, Chen Yong would like to call it the strongest serial battleship of the Dreadnought class. Strong armor protection, comparable to the 305 mm 50 caliber main gun with the power of a 343 mm main gun. Plus a 150 mm secondary gun. Combat power is definitely the strongest voice among Dreadnought-class battleships. System, order 10 ships for each of these two types of warships. Today's Chen Yong is rich and powerful. He made a lot of money by speculating on metal resources, and he made a lot of money by selling blueprints for ironclad ships. In addition, he plundered Shui Island, making him a rich local tyrant in the Blue Sea. This time, directly place an order for 20 battleships. Ding, the host order system has been accepted, and the estimated production time is 20 hours. Chen Yong was not in a hurry, it was only 20 hours. At that time, his fleet will once again increase its combat effectiveness several times. 20 more battleships. He realized that the V-type destroyers were not enough, and Chen Yong planned to wait for the battleships to be manufactured before ordering a batch of destroyers. Originally, Chen Yong planned to place an order for dozens more U-2A submarines, but the speed of the submarines was too slow to keep up with the speed of the fleet, so he planned to wait until the Sea of Storms before making plans. Closer to the Sea of Storms. The stronger the wind in the Blue Sea, the higher the waves. Normally, the Sea of Storms is completely surrounded by terrifying storms. It is a luxury for a sailing warship below the second level to even get close. Now, as time passed, the Sea of Storms was about to open, and the surrounding storms began to weaken. Chen Yang even saw a Tier 3 sailing warship coming to the edge of the Sea of Storms early. He intends to seize the opportunity and rush in immediately when the Sea of Storms opens. However, this is not a good choice. It is difficult for a light wooden sailboat to withstand the violent waves. Along the way, Chen Yang saw many warships with sails smashed by the waves. Rumbling, under the thick dark clouds, thunder flashes. A level 3 sail warship swaying with the waves is swaying in the water. It's not good, Captain, our ship is about to fail. Quickly, pull up the sails and fix the artillery, a new storm is coming, everyone hurry up. Voice just fell. Bang. Huge waves hit, and the waves more than 10 meters high seemed to crush everything into slag. The captain raised his head in despair, fear spreading wildly in his heart. No, at this time, the huge black shadow cut through the waves like a blade, but the huge waves failed to move the huge monster in the slightest. The captain looked up. Amidst the lightning and thunder, he swore that he had never seen such a big warship in his life. Those ironclad warships showing off their power in the blue sea are like little dwarfs in front of this giant ship. On the huge body of more than 170 meters, there are many steel fortresses, and the slender and terrifying gun barrel remains motionless in the wind and rain. The glare of the lights illuminated the dim sea, and his 3-tier sailing warship with a displacement of nearly 2,000 tons was in front of it, like a small matchbox. However, when the captain looked back, he almost sat down on the deck without being frightened. Behind this steel behemoth, there are dozens of behemoths like hills densely packed. His little galleon swayed in the waves like dwarfs in the kingdom of Titans. At this time, he clearly saw several 150mm secondary guns on the terrifying giant ship in front of him slowly aiming at him. The captain was scared to pee on the spot. Raise your hand quickly, expressing surrender. The other crew members were still dazed and confused, and they were kicked severely by him. You fools, why don't you raise your hands and surrender? Are you trying to kill me? The sailors quickly raised their hands and surrendered, not daring to make mistakes. At this time, the giant ship threw the ladder over. The meaning was obvious, it meant to let him pass. On the ship's side, he saw the sailors on the opposite battleship in white sailor uniforms waiting in formation, looking down at him like a falcon. Dare not neglect. The captain quickly climbed up the ladder to the huge ship in front of him. Standing on the wide deck and looking up, under the thunder, the pale metal reflection made him stagger, his legs trembled, and he fell on the deck. Sir, please come with me, our captain commander wants to see you. The easy-going voice sounded, which made the captain heave a sigh of relief. He glanced at his ship with some concern. We will take care of your ship. Don't worry, welcome to the Chen Yang fleet. Chen Yang, the captain was dumbfounded. If you want to say who is the most focused person in Azure Sea recently, that must be the rookie king Chen Yang. Just out of the novice channel, he defeated the notorious 3 major plundering ship groups. After crashing the White Pine Fleet checkpoint, he was attacked by the White Pine Fleet on Palm Island. In the end, he not only survived, but also ran to Shui Island, the shipbuilding base of the White Pine Fleet. Launched a war on Shui Island that shocked the entire blue waters, annihilating tens of thousands of warships on Shui Island. He even plundered Shui Island completely, and almost killed Bai Song in anger. In the end, he put down his harsh words and wanted to fight to the death with the White Pine Fleet on Palm Island. I didn't expect to meet him here. Gudong. The captain couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. Hearing this news before, he thought it was just an exaggeration, but the terrifying giant ships behind him told him that this news was more real than real gold. With trembling steps, he followed the sailor to the interior of the cabin. Everything here is in order, and the huge mechanical creation is like a sophisticated whole. Then, here he saw the serious white-haired old man in military uniform in front of the nautical chart, and the 10-year-old girl in a dress lying on the window. This old man, or is this little girl Chen Yang? He foolishly couldn't tell. Sudden, a big, strong hand clapped on his shoulder. Turned back sharply. Behind, a young man in casual clothes with a warm smile was looking at him with a smile. Welcome to the king, I am Captain Commander Chen Yang. Facing the right hand stretched out by the other party, the captain was confused. He is Chen Yang. Hello, my name is Alkan, from Tianlin Continent. Tianlin Continent, is it the new batch of navigators who arrived 2 years ago? No. That's right, you are Chen Yang. What, is this still fake? Don't be nervous, I don't know how to eat people. Chen Yang joked. Talking, Orf next to him brought a cup of tea to Alkan in front of him. Xiaolu, go and prepare some snacks for the guests. Good. The little girl withdrew her obsessive eyes from lying by the porthole, jumped off the chair, and ran back. Half an hour later, when the trembling Alkan returned to his boat, it was like having an absurd dream. When I came back to my senses, the huge fleet in front of me had disappeared on the horizon. Facing the fierce storm, continued to move towards the Sea of Storms. Captain, it's going to rain, you'd better go back to the cabin to avoid the rain. The first officer next to him woke Alkan up from his daze, and he suddenly turned around, and returned to the captain's cabin with the box in his hand. But after answering some questions about the Sea of Storms, the other party gave him such a small box, and he didn't know what was in it. The trembling hand slowly opened, but the expected explosion did not happen. Looking down, there was a copy of the latest sea chart and a blueprint of the ironclad ship lying quietly in the box. Alkan had a sore nose. I really saved the belly of a gentleman with the heart of a villain. Captain, what should we do now? Should we continue to move forward? Retreat for 100 nautical miles, and find a calm island and reef to rest for 2 days. As he spoke, he picked up the blueprint for the ironclad ship in his hand. We have hoped to enter the Sea of Storms. At the same time, King's flagship, Chen Yang and Orf are studying the sea conditions on the chart. Captain, we are already very close to the Sea of Storms, and 300 nautical miles ahead is the storm barrier. Chen Yang knew that the so-called storm barrier was a feature of the Azure Sea. The huge vortex forms a unique geographical environment in the Blue Sea. The air flow gathers here, isolating the sea and the outside of the storm. Only during the biennial intermission, there is a window of less than 3 months. During this period, Sea of Storms will refresh various resource islands, so the biennial window period is also a carnival day for the major fleets to collect supplies. At the same time, the portal at the center of the Sea of Storms will also open. There is the only passage to the endless sea. It is a one-way street, you can go out but not in. Certainly, there are also people with special means who can enter the Azure Sea through extraordinary means, such as the Endless Sea Business Alliance. Some brave navigators will choose to leave the Blue Sea at this time and go to the wider Endless Sea. And there are also far-sighted people who choose to stay in the Blue Sea to develop wretchedly. Like the 7th Fleet, the one who stayed the longest was the Azure Fleet, which stayed in the Azure Sea for 30 years. The second is the White Pine Fleet, which has been in the Azure Sea for 21 years and has continuously accumulated strength, becoming the second most powerful fleet in the Azure Sea. As for the other 5 fleets, each has its own history. The weakest Morningstar fleet is only 4 years old, and has always been very low-key. The fleet is upgraded from the large fleet and has a larger force. Those with more than 1,000 warships are called large fleets, and those with more than 10,000 warships are eligible to form a fleet. Although Chen Yang got the Grand Fleet token early, he is still a long way from the Grand Fleet. He raised his head and glanced at the date. There is still about a week before the opening of the Sea of Storms. During this time, I should try my best to get familiar with the surrounding sea areas. Send submarines and destroyers to investigate the surrounding sea conditions and draw up the latest sea state maps. Orf nodded. Leave this matter to me. Chen Yang was silent for a moment, and finally couldn't help but say, Orf, I may have to leave for a few days, maybe a day or 2, or 5 or 6 days, and I will come back before the Sea of Storms opens. Leave, Captain, where are you going? Chen Yang didn't hide anything, and showed him the chat records he had with the veteran sailor yesterday. So, this is the mysterious navigator of the Endless Sea that you mentioned earlier. He must have encountered some trouble and wanted to recruit me as a mercenary to help him out. Is there any risk? Orf was slightly worried. Don't worry, this time I will bring 10 battleships and 10 destroyers, and even 2 submarines. I will test the situation first and then make a decision. Could it be a trap? Chen Yang shook his head. it shouldn't be so. If it's really a trap, I can also use the Predator trading network to spend a lot of money to perform an emergency escape. At worst, I'll just lose those warships. Here, the little girl Xiaolu ran over. Are you going to fight? What's wrong? I want to fight too. Chen Yang flicked her brains. Take care of the house with peace of mind, don't run around. She covered her head and pursed her lips. I didn't come here to be a little maid, I also want to fly a battleship. Chen Yang said with a smile. Then can you sail a boat? Can you shoot a cannon? Do you know how to read a nautical chart? The little girl's face turned red. I will learn all these, Grandpa Orf will teach me. Then wait until you learn it. With that said, he turned and looked at Orf. I'll leave this girl, Xiaolu, to you. Ha ha ha, don't worry, I like this child very much, leave it to me, I will teach her how to command a battleship. Chen Yang turned his head and rubbed the little girl's stubborn head. If you want to ride the sea, you still have a lot to learn. I'll check the progress when I come back. Slightly. Xiaolu made faces at Chen Yang. Hey, my young master, you've got a message, how about it? Have you thought about it? It's urgent. The message from the sailing veteran came again. By the way, what's the situation on your side? The situation is so critical. Chen Yang asked. I've been trapped by a group of pirates for a long time. If I didn't go out without a boat, I wouldn't have fallen to such an extent. It's really bullied by dogs. Hey, brat, you are the only one among the rookies who has obtained the legendary talent. After more than a month, you have improved a bit, right? Well, it has almost grown to 50 ships. Hey, the development is good. The last time I bought your sailing ship, it was sunk by pirates before it went out. It's not good enough. Why are pirates so powerful? Don't mention it, if my fleet is here, just rely on these pirates, HMPH. By the way, do you have an ironclad ship? No, Chen Yang answered truthfully. The opposite party gritted his teeth. It's still the original price, and I'll add another 30% of the employment fee, as long as you help me lure the group of pirates away. As long as you help me escape from the tiger's mouth, as a seafaring bird, when you come to the endless sea in the future, the old bird will cover you. Add another 50%. Chen Yang spoke. Boy, why don't you rob? Take advantage of the fire to rob, right? Moment. Okay, add another 50%. As long as you help me get out of the tiger's mouth, I will give you a mysterious gift. Great gift. Can you reveal it? Of course not, but don't worry, this gift will definitely help you dominate the blue sea. Chen Yang rubbed his chin. In that case, I've accepted the task. 10 seconds passed. A group of long coordinate numbers were sent from the other side. You open the mercenary portal and go directly to the position I gave you, and then you will be responsible for leading those pirates away. Okay, no problem, but if the enemy is too strong, I will run away. Chen Yang is outspoken. Escape, of course you have to escape, or you, a rookie, still want to fight those pirates. Chen Yang looked down. The 5-star black card in his hand began to glow dimly. The other party has already contacted the business alliance for him, and he can use the black card authority to start the portal at any time. At this time, Calm Sea, 5 King class, 5 Wyoming class, 10 V class destroyers, and 2 U-2A class submarines. A total of 22 warships are waiting in full battle. Chen Yang didn't know the situation on the other side and how powerful the enemy was, so he directly chose 10 of the most cutting-edge battleships as the main force. As Chen Yang raised the glowing card in his hand, he entered the coordinates of the target. A blue portal slowly opened. Half a minute passed. A portal with a length, width, and height of 300 meters slowly took shape, emitting a cold light on the blue sea. All warships listen to orders, lift restrictions, load shells, and are ready to fight at any time. At the same time, Gray Island, in the underground fortress. The girl with twin ponytails paced back and forth with her hands behind her back. From time to time, he glanced at the adjutant next to him with distaste. Are you annoying? Can you stop stomping? The adjutant looked confused. Master Admiral, it seems that you are stamping your own feet. Hey, you fool, have you learned to talk back? If you talk back again, you can fetch me bath water. Ah, the adjutant was about to cry. Pointing to the shells that fell from time to time outside, hundreds of kilograms of shells exploded, throwing gray dust high, and then fell heavily. With dark circles under his eyes, he hasn't had a good night's sleep for a long time. If he ran out to fetch water at this time, wouldn't he be instantly smashed into a pulp? Master Admiral, will the reinforcements you mentioned really come? He is just a newcomer. He said he has 50 ships, even if they are all sent into the sea, as long as we can lure the pirates away for a while, we will take the opportunity to escape. As long as it succeeds, the mercenary money I pay him can buy at least 1,000 sailing warships. By the way, is our ship ready? Ready, but my subordinates are not sure that this little raft can escape the pursuit of pirates. The adjutant pointed to the raft behind him. The girl covered her head, thinking that the admiral of my fleet will be reduced to this one day. It's abominable. When I go back, I must make those fools pay the price. At this time, the adjutant pointed to the distance. Master Admiral, the portal seems to have opened, but the location seems to be wrong. The girl turned her head sharply, and looked out through the observation port. Why so close? Wait, the coordinates I gave. The girl rubbed her forehead. Okay, I mistyped a number with 3 decimal places. Looking at the adjutant behind him, I really didn't mean it. Then why don't you hurry up and ask him to cancel? No, communication is not possible during the teleportation, and his name is grayed out. At this time, on the sea, on the mighty dozens of heavily armed pirate ironclad ships, the pirates looked at the slowly unfolding portal with dazed faces. How could someone be teleporting at this time? Also sent to the front of their fleet. The pirate leader roared, "Is it reinforcements? It's too arrogant, little ones, get ready to fight." All of a sudden, the 200mm smoothbore naval guns on the heavily armored ship aimed at the portal one after another. When the first King-class battleship slowly entered the portal, on the other side of the portal, the huge bow raised its head and slowly drove out of the portal facing the waves. Just when this behemoth fully loaded with nearly 30,000 tons appeared in front of all the pirates. The pirates in front of them were stunned. How did they see such a terrifying giant ship? Boss, the captain of the pirates woke up amidst the shouts of the chief mate. The enemy is coming, fire, fire. The pirate captain roared. Boom, boom, boom. The 200mm smoothbore gun fired wildly and fired a salvo. Captain, the battleship has been attacked. Chen Yang was also surprised. Attack. Didn't it mean that the pirates would be teleported 10 nautical miles away? Counterattack. As soon as the words fell, an explosion was heard from the King-class battleship ahead. The explosion was fierce, and hundreds of shells exploded in the surrounding waters and around the King-class battleship for a while. The sound should be a 200mm gun. Counterattack, counterattack. The 5 double-mounted 305mm 50 caliber main guns on the King-class battleship quickly adjusted their angles and launched an attack about 5 kilometers ahead. Boom, 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 boom. On the Grey Island more than 10 kilometers away, the girl who was secretly blaming herself was startled and staggered. It's thundering. Beside, the adjutant, who was lying on the small lookout, began to tremble. Admiral, Lord Admiral, our reinforcements are here. What's going on? Did you die? No. Not. Was beaten by a group of pirates, but. What but? The girl pulled the adjutant away impatiently, and looked out through the observation hole. As far as the eye can see, a huge monster like a hill is bombarding dozens of heavily armored ships 5 kilometers away. The flames continued to explode on the huge monster, but none of the shells could penetrate the opponent's armor, leaving only black and smoky traces. And the pirates on the opposite side suffered. Every salvo fired by the huge giant ship is like thunder roaring more than 10 kilometers away. The flames spit out, and the huge shells crossed a graceful arc, plunging heavily into the 150mm armor line of the ironclad ship. Break through easily like tearing open a thin eggshell. Dazzling flames rose from the ironclad ship, and there was a bang, and the shock of the explosion turned the ironclad ship into an inverted V shape. The shells that exploded directly tore the ironclad ship into slag in an instant, and the slag flew everywhere. The girl opened her mouth wide in an O shape. She was so shocked that she couldn't speak. Immediately after, in the portal, such a terrifying behemoth drove out the second ship, and the third ship. When the fourth ship appeared, the battle situation reversed, and the 4 King-class battleships suppressed more than 50 heavily armored ships. Withdraw quickly. The captain of the pirates was so frightened that his feces flew all over the place, and the battleships around him exploded and flew into the sky one after another. But just after the fire was concentrated, the 200mm shells were unable to penetrate the opponent's side armor, not even the turret armor. Anyway, these heavy armored ships of my own are more than 9,000 tons, but in front of the nearly 30,000-ton behemoth like a hill on the opposite side, it seems a bit stretched. The propellers were stirring rapidly, trying to escape at the fastest speed and leave this terrifying battlefield. Because the captain of the pirates discovered that after 5 such behemoths appeared, another kind of slightly smaller steel giant began to sail out of the portal. There are also some small steel ships that are no more than 1,000 tons. Gululu. They heard movement on the water. The pirate captain's pupils narrowed sharply. Left full rudder, torpedo. He regretted it immensely. How did you come across such a terrifying fleet? Could it be that those perverted fleets from the depths of the endless sea have returned? No, how could they go back? Newcomer, how can there be such an exaggerated newcomer? Finally dodged 2 torpedoes. Before he could be happy, the first officer yelled in horror. Captain, there are torpedoes on the port side. No, there are also torpedoes on the starboard side. The captain of the pirates jumped into the sea without hesitation. Next second, he clearly saw the cylindrical heavy torpedo rumbling towards his flagship. Boom! The violent explosion caused the keel of the 10,000-ton heavy armored ship to be torn off in an instant. A shock wave struck, knocking him over tens of meters. In his last sight, he saw 10 giant steel ships in battle line firing crazily, sending all his last property into the sea. I don't know how long. When he wakes up again, I found myself being tied up on a gray island by 5 flowers. Beside, the girl who had been besieged by him for several months was like a little oriole, surrounding a handsome young man who looked young. Just when he turned his head, he saw a man with dark circles under his eyes staring at him fiercely. He grabbed his clothes and punched him. Here, the girl stared at Chen Yang as if she was looking at a monster, and Chen Yang also stared at the girl in front of her in bewilderment. He looked no more than 16 or 17 years old, with long double ponytails. A white sailor suit has already turned into a dusty appearance. He stared at himself with wide eyes. Are you really a newcomer? Really, I don't lie to you, otherwise how would you use your portal? Then you say you don't even have an ironclad ship. She pointed to the 10 huge Dreadnought-class battleships on the sea. There really are no ironclad ships. Why would I want that thing? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.